Have you considered using emergency powers to grant yourself authorities to build this wall without congressional approval? And second,
Yes,
on New
I have.
Mexico, you have.
Yes, I have. And I can do it if I want.
So you don't need congressional approval to build the
No,
wall?
we can use them. Absolutely. We can call a national emergency because of the security of our country. Absolutely. No, we can do it. I haven't done it. I may do it. But we can call a national emergency and build it very quickly. And it's another way of doing it. But if we can do it through a negotiated process, we're giving that a shot.
So is that a threat hanging over the Democrats?
I never threaten anybody. But I am allowed to do that, yes.
Second question.
Called a national emergency.
President Trump taking his pitch for border security directly to the American people today with his first televised Oval Office address tonight.
Do you think it should be, I don't know, a delay of some sort?
Why in the world would the networks run Donald Trump's address tonight when we know that Donald Trump is going to be using it to spread these lies?
Because people believe it. The president will say what he has to say. People will believe it, whether the facts are true or not.
Why should they run Donald Trump's address tonight when they know he's going to be spreading lies and falsehoods?
The answer to your question, Joe, is they shouldn't. One of the most time-honored and powerful ways a president has to communicate with the American people is through a primetime Oval Office address. The majesty of the setting, the request for valuable television time.
The president says he wants airtime. He just gets it, right? Well, the answer is no.
President Trump, you will not get your wall.
A wall is an immorality. It's not who we are as a nation.
Have you considered using emergency powers to grant yourself authorities to build this wall without congressional approval?
Yes, I have. And I can do it if I want.
And so he doesn't need the Congress to appropriate the funds for the wall. He can just do it.
So you don't need congressional approval to build the wall?
No, we can use them. Absolutely. We can call a national emergency because of the security of our country. Absolutely.
It's now up to you to decide which side you're on. That's where we are. And Trump is moving in the right direction, and the only direction he has, to use his constitutional executive power against traitors in the government to declare a national emergency and take matters into his own hands. Our destinies are now bound forever. We ask you to now take action and declare the national emergency and clear the scourge of the foreign globalist infestation threatening America and the world.
No, we're looking at a national emergency because we have a national emergency. Just read the papers. We have a crisis at the border of drugs, of human beings being trafficked all over the world. They're coming through. And we have an absolute crisis, and of criminals and gang members coming through. It is national security. It's a national emergency.
They're intentionally leaving the borders open in Europe, bringing in mass refugees. Among them are going to be jihadists who are setting up a future Tet-style offensive in Europe. And the same thing's being done to this country.
On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Oh, well," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. Now she clutched him to her bosom. "You're so beautiful," she cried. "But if I hadn't brought you in, by now you might have died." She stroked his pretty skin, and then she kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. "I saved you," cried the woman, "and you've bit me, heavens why. You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
It is 7:07 Central Standard Time, 8:07 Eastern Time. In about 53 minutes, the president is set to address the nation, and they're saying he may announce a national emergency. Now, I'm not going to make this whole thing tonight about whether I was right about my prediction a year ago and 6 months ago and a month ago and last week and last Friday and last Saturday and today that the president would declare a national emergency. I'm not going to make it about that. But you have to understand, you are getting next year's news today that Obama, with executive orders that I have right here in my stack, and in fact, can I have that one last thing out of my stack from today's news? I forgot to get that off my desk. I apologize. Of the executive order Obama signed in 2012, putting the country under a civil emergency. Because when Mike Adams joins us, we're going to be getting to that. That's in today's stack. Obama put us under a national emergency. Every president since Franklin Delano Roosevelt with the War Powers Act in 1933 has basically used these. And most presidents have used it to sell out American sovereignty, American jobs, American money. And so Obama set up what they call stay-behind networks. That's what it's called in the intelligence agencies. Trump calls them embedded groups. And so we have all of this unfolding. And we have articles up on Infowars.com that deal with it. But I'm going to show you the executive order from WhiteHouse.gov. It's in my printouts from today. I have the article about it. I'm talking about the actual WhiteHouse.gov printout. Now, continuing, ladies and gentlemen, we're already in an emergency. The globalists are collapsing nation states. They are collapsing borders. They are bringing countries down. We've seen 15 million military-age men slam into Europe in the last 7 years. We've seen tourism go down 80+%. We've seen all the horror, the mass rapes, the death, the economies go down, even their own national military and police leaders from France to Sweden to the Netherlands to Germany saying, why are we doing this? It's destroying our country. Because this is the Fourth World War. This is what Peter Sutherland and the UN and the globalists said they would use to bring down nation states. The UN controls the third world. They control the refugee centers. So this is their modern weapon to bring these people in, to then politicize them and globalize them and sheep dip them into socialism. And then once they've done that, they use them as political weapons. So they're using our strength, the fact that we have immigrant populations coming in, to not bring in the highly skilled or whatever, to export the highly skilled jobs, then bring in the unskilled and the lowest IQ populations of those nations to then weaponize them. So coming up in T-minus 50 minutes. Coming up in T-minus 50 minutes, we're going to have the president, his first Oval Office address. Now, yesterday I said, they said, oh, there's a special address tomorrow. We don't know if it'll be in the Oval Office or not. It'll be in the Oval Office. So prediction one came true. And that means that's time of war, national crisis, you name it. And Trump has already correctly said, we are in a national crisis. We are in a national crisis. Do we declare it a crisis? So I've said, is it a bargaining chip? Is that what this is? Is this a bargaining chip so the Democrats stop holding it up and creating the crisis of the shutdown government to show them I've got the power anyways to build the wall if you don't do it? Well, if he announces some deal tonight by Pelosi and Schumer, they'll probably double back on it, but that could be the only way he doesn't declare an emergency. But he needs to declare the emergency because, again, I want to be clear, Obama signed not just the executive order in 2012, but at least a dozen more. It was like 15 executive orders after that that gave martial law, dictatorial power to whatever agency and group and working group he put in under the executive order. So when they knew the Soviet Union was taking over Eastern Europe, starting in the late 40s, they started something called Operation Gladio. and other names. Gladio is a known name, but Archangel 2, Sword of the Lord, those are terms never been heard, but those are classified terms I just so happened to run into. And they set up with billions of dollars, and that'd be tens of billions in that time, not hundreds of billions of dollars, of all of the resistance movements and kind of a stay-behind network like the French resistance to the Nazis, in media and academia, to not be soldiers publicly, but to be resistors to the system. And so I said this 2 years ago when Trump got elected, 2+ years ago, and now it's come true. And I said, look at the John Warner Defense Authorization Act of Obama. Look at the executive orders. Look at the Countering Foreign Disinformation Propaganda Act. They're organizing intelligence agencies like Operation Mockingbird to say all opposition to globalism is Russian, so they can say everyone from Owen Schroyer to Ron Paul to Rand Paul to Matt Drudge to Alex Jones to Donald Trump is a Russian agent. That's how they have congressional hearings and kind of slip up and go, Alex Jones is a Russian agent with no evidence, and I don't get called to face my accuser. Because that's how they're doing this. They didn't just have Google and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Spotify and 90-something other platforms take us off in one day by accident. They were ordered to by the criminal breakaway deep state operating under law and executive order. And that's why they still call Hillary the president, even though she never won. Now, we talked about this 2 years ago, 2 years and 2-3 months ago when Trump got elected. I could look at what Obama was signing, the executive orders, I could read it, and I said, oh my God, they're setting up a stay-behind network. And of course, their operation went into overdrive as soon as I laid this out a couple years ago, but intensifying the last 4 months, going, oh, Jones wants martial law. Jones wants suspension of habeas corpus. Jones wants suspension of posse comitatus, as if anyone knows what those terms mean. We popularized all those terms. When the deep state was setting all this up in COG and Dick Cheney's LL Lemnitzer martial law plan, this broadcast popularized what you see in movies like Vice, which is accurate. Trump never used any of that. He came in as just trying to fix stuff. But just like they gave him unconstitutional powers to pass presidents, he can now use those very powers against them to end their whole system, to declare all of it illegal now, to declare all the previous executive orders null and void. Because the president, when he's in the commander-in-chief hat, has the power of a monarch. He can be removed by Congress with impeachment, indictment in the House, conviction in the Senate. But other than that, if the people are behind him with the commander-in-chief hat on, when he puts that hat on, he becomes a dictator over the border and foreign operations. Well, if you've got foreign operations attacking the country, he's in charge of that. Obama, it's now been declassified, considered using the military against the American people trying to trigger a race war, but the Pentagon said we won't go along with it. Well, here's the difference. Most of the Pentagon is with Trump. The globalists can threaten certain high-level members and have them roll over, but in general, the bottom 90% is with Trump. So he's not bringing in martial law. Red Adair, the most famous oil well engineer in history from the U.S., Texas, Saudi Arabia, you name it, worked in the fields over 70 years before he died, from being a little bitty kid to being an old man. He pioneered almost 100 years ago that when you couldn't put out an oil well fire, nobody could do it. They'd burn sometimes for years. They'd roll in a big old wheelbarrow of TNT. They'd pay the good old boy that did it the equivalent of a couple $100,000, back then a couple $1,000, to roll that wheelbarrow of TNT right into that burning cauldron, and that huge explosion. In fact, we should pull up using explosives to, that should be the term, using explosives to put out an oil fire, to explode to put out the flame. And then it would just be oil and gas, not a flamethrower, because that would suck all the oxygen out in the explosion. So Trump is doing a controlled oil field demolition to put the fire out. Now, they've told him that they're going to plunge the stock market 5,000 points tomorrow if he does this. They've already phrased it that his declaration of emergency, something other presidents did to sell us out in 2008 and other times with the financial crisis, they've already sold a lot of the public that if he does this, it's illegal, it's dictatorial, no one has ever done it before, it's terrible. No, No one has ever used a national emergency except Ronald Reagan. When he did a limited one, but he used national emergency to order the air traffic controllers to not let planes crash and fall out of the sky. And he said, I order you back to work under emergency order. He did that national emergency. So it was all 50 states. Air traffic controllers said, increase our pay or we're gone. He said, no, you get back to work, I'll have your ass arrested. Now, if Congress and the people didn't agree with that, he would get impeached. He didn't. His approval rating went up 20 points or more. So, yeah, go back to There Will Be Blood, because that's a good historical example of them detonating something like that to get rid of a oil well, even though that's not really accurate from the book or the film that was invented later. So that's what I'm getting at here. And that's what we're breaking down. Trump is trying to destroy and get rid of the oil well fire. Now, this is live coverage. We're putting this out on the satellite for radio, satellite for TV, the mainstreams at Infowars.com and Newswars.com, and all of you watching. The president's set to speak in 42 minutes. Customarily, he'll build suspense and speak, I think, at about 8:04, 8:05 Central, 9:05 Eastern. I predict that he'll be speaking here in about 43, 45 minutes. But I want to explain how historical this is. The fact that he's gotten rid of hundreds of his people that turned out to be establishment, and he's talking about national emergency, shows he's finally got people, Acting Attorney General Whitaker and others, that are actually telling him the blueprints and how stuff works. And look, he was a hotel and golf course owner before this, and he's a smart guy and a good guy, and his dad was a big John Bircher, and the lawyer that advised him, Mr. Cohn, was the top advisor to Joseph McCarthy. So I know Trump knows as much as I know, or a lot more probably. I'm just pointing out that we've been experts on COG and the globalist and LLM and the martial law plan the globalists tried to pull that got Kennedy killed, and then that almost got Reagan killed because he stood against it. But Reagan learned about the national emergency and said, well, I'll do it for air traffic controllers and things like that. So this is America really fighting back. And listen, whether he declares the civil emergency or not, they may be threatening him with the economy imploding. And so he may be pulling back, but he's introduced the idea so that when he does declare it officially, it doesn't have as big a hit. I still think he's going to declare it. There's been big debate about it, whether he's going to do it or not. Here's some of the headlines. We've got the Wall Street Journal saying we're not sure, and others. But here's some of the articles on Infowars.com that go over this. Alex Jones, I don't want Trump to declare martial law, but we're already under it via Obama. He must reverse it. That's just the law. World exclusive. Obama declared martial law COG provisions before leaving office. Civil emergency still in place. Trump must reverse it. Emergency report. Trump planning mass arrests, military tribunals, deep state traitors. That's Mike Adams 3 months ago in September calling for this. Very important article up on Infowars.com. He's going to be joining us right before Trump speaks. So is Roger Stone. So is the founder and head of Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes. Big broadcast, Owen Schroyer. Representative Berger asked to Congress under martial law to pass banker bailout, 2008. They were threatened with martial law, blood in the streets, and tanks if they didn't submit to George W. Bush's emergency declaration of national emergency. They told Congress, submit to it or there'll be martial law and blood in the streets. That was over giving money to foreign banks 10 years ago. Trump's just doing it to secure our border. Totally constitutional. Former congressman warns of martial law camps in America. So that's not what Trump's doing. He's reversing all that. Now, we'll get Owen's take on this before Roger Stone and others pop in, but I want to just show you the key article by Paul Joseph Watson, revealed UN plan to flood America with 600 million migrants. This plan's from 2001. It's an official UN plan. The UN then countered us when we wrote this last year and said, well, it's just a plan. And Snopes said it's fake news. Yes, the UN's planning it, but it hasn't been done. So it's like if you have a murder plan or a bank robbery plan, and the cops find out about it, they got a recording of you saying, next Tuesday, we're going to rob the Wells Fargo, in Austin, Texas on Ben White. That's an analogy. We're not doing that. And they go, oh, well, that's just hypothetical, even though you're in a meeting planning it. And you got the weapons. This is the crisis. This is the globalist plan to overthrow us with the third world. So here's the big executive order right here. Executive order, National Defense Resource Preparedness. Under any economic crisis, any migrant crisis, they use refugee crisis in here. any crisis, martial law, March 16, 2012, and that is amending the Defense Production Act of 1950. And of course, that was the predecessor, or the not the predecessor, the person that followed after Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That was Harry Truman. And this allowed work brigades, forced labor camps, seizure of media, seizure of families, everything. And now he amended that and said, Obama said, we will take full control of society for any civil or economic or any other crisis that he deems. And then we've been under this crisis with hundreds of billions of dollars from the Defense Authorization Act going to mainstream media, the New York Times, the Washington Post. It's all confirmed to, quote, counter foreign propaganda, they mean the American people. So again, the globalists are the foreigners. They're the outside group killing the country, saying a nation state shouldn't exist. But then they use defense authorization and intelligence money to literally wage war against the American people. And that's why they want us shut down so desperately, is that we're on air saying, Mr. President, they're using COG power. Mr. President, they're doing all of this. This is their plan. This is how they've done it. You need to use these powers like you did to get rid of the TPP. The president shouldn't have the power over total trade control. That's Congress. But since he had the power, he could pull out of it because they'd give him the power. So what they built up, the president as a dictator, has now blown up in their face. So Owen Schroyer's riding shotgun. He's about to break this down. And then we're going to have Roger Stone pop in, the architect of the wall, and so much more. And, of course, Mike Adams, who's been talking about this. But everybody's having suspense over should he declare the emergency or not. We believe he is. We talked about it years and months before he did. The word is he prepared the people for this. Is this some shadow game behind the scenes to make the globalists stand down so he doesn't have to and then have the perceived victory that they choked? I don't think that perceived victory is as important as him actually removing the deep state elements. Will he make them choke, threatening the emergency, and then in a week declare the emergency and have the cake and eat it too? I tend to think that's the tactic. Sometimes I don't want to tell people my analysis because people know it's dead on. The enemy listens to it as well. But I think we're well past that at this point. Owen Schroyer.
Well, here's how you know there's something different about tonight's event, because the Democrats were panicking, calling for it to be shut down and not aired. Mainstream news, NBC, we're all debating, should we air it? You saw all types of segments on television. Oh, do we have a moral obligation to not air Donald Trump's speech tonight? So there's definitely something different to this address. There's definitely something that has them panicked. That's why the whole corporate media and Democrat Party was all up in arms to try to stop this from happening. And then you have the angle of why they want to censor InfoWars and they don't want Alex Jones to exist on social media, so that when an event like this happens and we want to go live and break it, the people don't have access to the information. They don't have access to our analysis. And then just in general, the population that just might be out looking through the internet for news or coverage that night will never find you and never get anything different than the controlled narrative that the corporate.
That's right. They've been lining up the takedown of the president. And so starting with InfoWars and now running the gamut to Franklin Graham and Gavin McInnes and everybody else. And Mark Dyson, they banned off Facebook. They're hitting everybody ahead of this so that we can't point out the real narrative. And think about the treason, Owen. Elaborate on this, because this is your genius when it comes to this. They're saying we shouldn't carry the first Oval Office address when the president can hit a button and make all the stations carry it with the EAS system. They're literally saying you shouldn't hear the president. You're too dumb to hear what he has to say. That's martial law by the media, by these globalist foreign powers allied with the Chi-Coms, the outrageousness of saying you can't hear from your president. That's what the enemy does. The Ninth Circuit, you can't fly American flags in the Ninth Circuit states. Saying we have a nation is racist and bad. You can't hear the president's address. That's what enemies would do if they seized the country. This is so illustrative.
Well, what kind of audacity does it take to be Don Lemon or Mika Brzezinski and say, we don't want to air the president because of the lies or the racism or all this garbage? Well, wait a second. Well, why would that stop you from airing the president? Wouldn't you want to air that? I mean, you're the ones calling him a racist liar.
Notice they never show the proof. They just keep saying it.
So, it just shows that they're panicked and they can't have a counter narrative. But again, it's beyond them just lying. It is the enemy of the people. This is why Trump calls them the enemy of the people.
They are.
Because they are. Why else would they be saying, oh,
they don't want a peace deal with North Korea. They don't want us to pull out of these wars. They want us to have war with Russia. They want to plunge the economy and admit it. They're the enemy.
I'm Don Lemon, and I'm more important than the president. I'm Mika Brzezinski. I'm more important than the president. No, you're not. You never were. You're totally irrelevant. But it's this weird sycophant thing. They think they have control over the people.
The globalists did a deal to sell us out to China and others, and Juncker, who's drunk in public every day on TV. I mean, this is it. They are the traitors, and Trump's calling their bluff. Let me ask you your real take on this, Ellen. We're going to come back, and because you're on fire, you'll continue. Why wouldn't the establishment just get out of the way? They could parlay a better deal with China and Russia with a strong America because they spiritually have a hard-on for the country. And that's what they're doing. So gut level, tonight, he needs to declare the emergency. I get he can push them into giving what he wants for the wall for now, but that's because in exchange for not declaring the emergency. It's the emergency that will remove the emergency people Obama and Hillary put in. So it's his duty to do it. Now, I get they may plunge the economy, so say, okay, I'm not doing it today, he does it next week. He has a way of like, and here is the idea, but then pulling back so they can't panic everybody and then doing it later when nobody notices. So I'm going to trust the president on this, but gut level, he needs to declare the emergency under law.
Well, and I think the reason why they don't want to make a deal or try to parlay it off for themselves in some way, shape, or form, which I think Trump would be glad to give him credit for.
By the way, put that back up. That's live for TV viewers. We have satellite feeds. We pay for all this. Live footage of the White House right now because they say he hasn't made his decision yet. Continue.
I think that next level, Alex, the reason why it's such a panic moment right now is because they know that we're turning into the next age. Everything is going to change in the next 20 years. Currencies are going to be completely, there will be no cash. The AI is going to be in total command. So there can still be a liberty-based system, and America can still exist in what is probably inevitable in that regard. But they know the window is closing on the new age dawning, and so they have to kill America before that window closes.
Because they don't want America to have influence in that new sphere.
And if America even exists in that new generation.
Exactly. We're not supposed to exist in that.
That's what it's all about. If you kill America.
So we're fighting for our very existence.
And for the world to have another chance. I mean, even if the world goes into tyranny, if America still
needs
exists,
to be a fire base for liberty into the future.
That's why America exists. That's why globalism hates America.
Well, we were set up.
And so here you go with President Trump. And isn't it obvious? I mean, look, the Democrats will do anything they can to maintain power of the Supreme Court. Who knows if Ruth Bader Ginsburg is even alive at this point?
Hold on. Stations are about to go to break. TV and radio stations, we're skipping all breaks. We'll air a few breaks. At the end of the hour before Trump goes live, we'll air a 3-minute, 4-minute break for stations that want to take it. And everybody's great. They take breaks. That's fine. We understand. Some stations are automated. We are skipping all breaks. We apologize to radio stations that are automated and TV stations, but obviously the president's giving an address. We're in a national emergency already. He's about to declare one, or he should. So we are going to be skipping breaks other than a few promos we play. So go to break whenever you need to stations. Please continue.
So when you have Democrats calling for open borders, you have Democrats pushing for communism. I mean, we're talking, they're pushed for a 70% tax hike, and then the Democrats celebrate it. They don't want you to have...
Which they know will stall things for the average person so they can buy up your house, buy up everything you've got, and then they own it.
But think about...
And then people like Cortez buy a house, or Sanders buy a house in Switzerland. A $10 million villa.
But what is like this Sith Lord thing that they do? If you were just to say, like you were saying, let's just analyze an enemy. Let's not put a name or a face to it. Let's just say you have an enemy. What does the enemy want to do? They want to disarm you. They want to dissolve your borders. They want to take your wealth.
Demoralize.
And they want to divide and conquer based on identity. That's everything the Democrats
And what are we doing? We're building you up. We believe in you. Trump says you're great. And we're trying to build a future.
And people know that if you want to have the world enveloped in one government, America can't exist. That's been the problem since
because all the systems is authoritarian. China's the model of the new world government. Well, you can't have some place where people are fabulously wealthy compared to others and have all these damn freedoms and own guns when nobody else does.
Don't you know how frustrating it is for a communist to look at an independent citizen and control him? They can't. How can a communist?
Well, imagine all over the world, they see what America's got. So that's why, look, you go back 250 years ago when the Revolutionary War was about to begin. It was all over British newspapers. They said, the American problem. They said if the American system breaks loose all over the world, it works so good, it ends the nobility, it ends the licensing, the central system, it's over. And
that's why it's the shot heard around the world.
And what were the British saying by 1910? The German, Austrian-Hungarian Empire, the Kaiser Wilhelm was a nut. He got lured into it, but he was actually British. All the British/German, who's related to Winston Churchill, all of them, they had all the new technologies, all the new science, all the new munitions, all the new fertilizers, all the new dyes, all the new drugs, all the psychology. And the British newspapers were like, the German problem, the German problem, the German problem. They're going to take our empire over because they've got all the technology. Well, they just started a war with them and lured the Germans in. And they bragged, oh, we made the dumbass Germans get involved. Now and I'm not bashing British, I'm Welsh. I mean, it's just this is what they did, okay? And then, 1 million Brits died in the fight. But the globalists got control. That's this model. And America, it was the American problem. Then it was the British saying it's the German problem. Because anything successful and big, if Germany would have stayed free market, it already ran almost all of Europe. It dominated Eastern Europe. It was the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Germany would run the world today, but they got tricked into a war. Just like they're getting tricked into their EU and let the Muslims in again, because that's how you defeat a superior power. I mean, let's say for the British Empire, the Germanic Empire had more IQ, more people, and more people ready to kill. I mean, the Germans are killing machines. You can look at all the different wars, and like the Russians say, because Russians are tough too, but they say, no, the Germans, person to person, are the worst people to get in a fight with. And so the point is, how do you beat them? You trick them into a war. And the British tricked the Russians into the war to actually defeat the Germans in World War I, and then the Brits took the Russians down. So see, America is being maneuvered into our own collapse, and we need to stop it and understand what's happening.
Well, look what's happening in California, where nobody seems to wonder why the migrant caravan, instead of going to the nearest point, which would have been half the distance in miles, I think it was Brownsville, Texas, they go double the distance to get to Tijuana and to get
because
to California.
Because the liberal judges.
Exactly, because they know in California it's a sanctuary, they can walk across the border and nothing's going to happen. Where in Texas, Governor Abbott actually wants to have a border. I mean, my God. So they go to California. Then Trump says, well, we're going to have a census in 2020, so I'm going to put, are you an American citizen on the census? What do the Democrats say? Oh, no, you can't do that. So now they take the census. California.
And obviously a census should ask,
it's ridiculous.
Are you a citizen?
So now California.
That's in Leviticus, and that's in the Constitution.
So now California's population goes up. They get more electoral votes. Now you see why the Democrats want open borders. They want to do what they've done to California, to Texas, and they believe if they can do it to Texas, to California, to New York, and maybe they can get Florida in there, they'll never lose another election.
Like Venezuela, they want to end the real system.
So this is how the Democrats rig elections.
And let's be clear, if it was a bunch of white people or black people coming over the southern border, we would be against them illegally voting, being turned into these brainwashed people. All right, do we have Roger Stone ready? Okay, we're going to go to this piece because Mark Dice is on fire. Mark Dice was taken off Facebook for pointing out that the murderers of the poor little black girl, who by the way was born on February 11th, 7 years ago, my same birthday. She got the same birthday as George Washington and the same birthday as Burt Reynolds. I saw it this morning. Her birthday was, for some reason, was there. Little Jasmine. And the media seized on it. Turned out 3 days in, they knew from reports it was black killers, but the sheriff and others, to make it race baiting, covered it up. We're going to air his report, come back with Roger Stone. We're 25 minutes out from the president's speech. Mike Adams is popping in right before. So much more. Will the president declare a national emergency? We're in an emergency. Now it's back and forth. They're saying it'll plunge the stock market if he does. He may back off for now. It's all coming up. But here is the special report with Mark Dice.
Well, guys, I couldn't even make it one full week into 2019 without getting suspended by one of the major social media platforms for posting what they said was hate speech. Facebook locked me out of my account for 7 days and censored this post because I simply stated the fact that the only reason that the story about the 7-year-old girl who was tragically shot and killed in Houston went viral is because the suspect initially was white. So every Black Lives Matter activist on social media started tweeting about this terrible white terrorist who killed this poor innocent girl. Only it turns out that the murderer was actually a black man. By now, they've all forgotten her name and don't even remember that the incident happened. But before the identity of the actual shooter was revealed, people were tweeting out things like this. Her picture with a tweet saying, "This is 7-year-old Jasmine Barnes. She was shot and killed by America's real terrorist threat, a white man who opened fire on her family's car as they left Walmart in Houston." Here's the Young Turks host Chunk Uger saying that the shooter may be a white Donald Trump supporter who was incited by the president's racist rhetoric and decided to start killing random black people for the cause.
It's what I referred to earlier. Of all people, Chelsea Manning taught me this phrase recently: stochastic terrorism. It's when people are encouraged by leaders to do violent acts. The leader doesn't say, kill this specific person, doesn't say you should target Jasmine Barnes. It just encourages you to hate a certain group of people. And then random, unbalanced people in the country pop up and do the violence on their behalf. And that's called stochastic terrorism. And that's what this one looks like. But they're going to investigate. I hope to God they find the guy.
Oh, they found him all right, Chunk, and like 50% of the murderers in this country, he's a black male. Which is strange when you realize that black men make up only 6.5% of the United States population, but commit 50% of the total murders. And stating uncomfortable facts like that is now considered to be hate speech in 2019. As you know, I rarely cover tragedies on this channel because I try to make my videos fun and make them to function as a sort of release valve so that you guys can laugh at the madness going on in the mainstream media. But obviously some issues aren't a laughing matter, and sometimes we do have to get serious. One of those issues we're going to be facing a lot of this year, unfortunately, is censorship. Because in 2019, apparently you're not allowed to state certain facts, like there's a lot of murders in the black community, and most of it barely makes a blip on the radar unless one of the perpetrators or suspects is supposedly white. In fact, if you were to tune into the local news in Chicago, Milwaukee, Baltimore, or Detroit any night of the week, this is exactly what you would see.
24-year-old Demario Jackson has been charged with first-degree reckless homicide. He's accused of firing shots into a crowd during a fight. One bullet hit 14-year-old Yaphet Moore.
That breaking news, the third suspect charged in the murder of 9-year-old Zalea Jenkins has been arrested.
New at 10, two cousins charged in connection with the murder of a delivery driver. One of the defendants just 17 years old.
Tonight, new information about the suspect in a killing spree that crossed state lines.
That shocking shooting rampage ended with 4 people dead on the west side.
Going to begin tonight and the new year with 3 teenagers behind bars accused of fatally shooting another teen outside the Eastland Center Mall last Saturday.
All of these are tragedies, and all of these stories are just 15-second sound bites on the local news, and then are completely forgotten about by everyone except for those directly affected, like the victims' families and friends. But if the perpetrator's white or suspected to be white and the victim is black, the race-baiting Black Lives Matter activists will sink their teeth into the story and amplify it to a national level, creating a wedge between the different races as part of their divide and conquer strategy. And speaking of censorship, President Trump's going to be issuing a primetime television address tonight about the illegal immigration crisis, and many of the major networks struggled with the decision about whether or not they were going to even air it. CNN's little brain stelter tweeted out that a TV executive texted him saying that he, President Trump, calls us fake news all the time, but needs access to the airwaves. If we give him the time, he'll deliver a fact-free screed without a rebuttal. And if we don't give him the time, he'll call every network partisan. So we're damned if we do, and damned if we don't. All of the major networks dragged their feet and were reluctant to confirm or deny whether or not they would or would not air the address. And speaking of censorship, you guys can help fight it.
Trump declares national emergency. Again, live coverage, Trump declares national emergency. They were saying he was. We predicted he was. He may back down from that just to see what they do to the stock market and then announce it later. But I'm predicting within 2 weeks we'll be in the national emergency. We first told you about this term and what it means in legal language. And again, Owen Schroyer riding shotgun. We have Roger Stone here with us. But I want to be clear. You just saw that Mark Dice piece. If you're watching on television or listening on radio, the full videos on Infowars.com and Newswars.com. Not censored because we're fake news, because we're so accurate. Imagine for the first time ever, news networks saying we may not carry the president's address. Some are saying they won't because he's so evil. Well, that shows they're a foreign power. But also saying we can't allow something out without us countering it. Well, they already put CNN feeds over all the YouTube videos now. and Southern Poverty Law Center garbage. So this is beyond censorship. These people are breaking in on every digital channel. This is Obama's kill switch that he put in place. Was he was going to break in over things. Well, forget that. Now CNN is the internet kill switch. Breaking in. Imagine if Trump, even though I like Trump, if he broke in over all the internet feeds, if he broke in over every political video on Google or Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. This is in the news now. You go there to see one of my videos that somebody's uploaded or even the president countering Mitt Romney. And the top video is a CNN feed over the Trump speech.
Wait, Alex, remember when Trump actually did the text alert and there were leftists saying Trump raped me? He sent out a text alert and they said, oh my gosh, I've been violated by Trump. So just a text alert, which is just like a national emergency system, they can't even accept that. Yeah, if Trump went like, that's why they don't want to air Tonight. It's like anything Trump, it's, oh no, that racist.
Let's be clear. They're literally using their own private EAS system. Trump's done in 2 years 1 test. And yeah, it can be abused, but he's not abusing it one time. They're breaking in now 2 weeks ago, which shows they're getting ready for the moment, with CNN superimposed over everyone's Trump statements.
No, and
saying, get the truth, go to CNN. They're not even, that's martial law, brother.
No, exactly. The fact that they're going to even consider this tonight, not airing it, they'll probably air it tonight. Next time, they probably won't. And that
well, that's it. They're just introducing the idea that we're not going to. I'm going to go to Roger Stone, but Roger, first they demonize you, then they take you off the air, as you've said. And I noticed all these articles 2 weeks ago saying Roger Stone admits he's fake on InfoWars, and that InfoWars is fake news. Never said that, never did that. He settled a lawsuit where he got most of it was right, part of it was wrong, about China and Kwok and all this. And then it turns into, I know it's fake, and we all admit we're fake. Then they put that in other newspapers like it's real, and now they're superimposing CNN, who's the chosen evil, to superimpose over every Trump speech on Google or YouTube. And now Facebook's announced they're going to do it. CNN isn't just forced in the bathrooms at airports. It isn't just forced at gas stations. I was at Dutch Roll Shell a month ago, and CNN was on damn TVs. It's not just forced at bars and hotels and airports. It's now literally going to be forced over your browser. Roger Stone, what do you predict tonight here in about 15 minutes?
Well, first of all, I think the president's going to stand tall. I do think he is going to exercise his executive power. I do think he's going to appropriately declare an emergency. This is going to make the deep state shift into high gear. There will be mass hysteria tonight, because the president accurately recognizes that this flood of illegals is bringing crime, is bringing drugs, is bringing disease. And the Democrats really, I think Owen hit it right on the head. They favor a remix of the electorate. They favor flooding the American electorate with illegals in order to change the voting quotient in the country. So I see the president going for broke tonight. It's his signature issue. It is the issue that elected him. Let's face it. It was the single most important issue in his upset election, the most improbable election in American history. And I think he understands this is the single most important night of his presidency.
Roger, that's what my gut tells me, and my gut's never wrong. And then now we see Wall Street Journal and Guardian. Trump is looking to not declare emergency. They're threatening to plunge the stock market. He does have a tendency, though, to announce something to see the effect, not do it when they counteroffensive so they can use it to blame him, and then doing it a week later. What are the chances of him doing that?
I don't see that. Look, we remember very starkly, they predicted that when he was elected, the stock market would crash. It would be an international emergency. In fact, we've had a record stock market gain, right? The Dow at record levels, job creation at record levels, unemployment at record low levels, the exact opposite of what the corporate elitist media predicted. I believe that the American people are with the president on this issue. It is only the elites in the two-party duopoly and the elites of both parties who are opposed and don't have the courage to seal our borders. As the president has said many times, if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. I think the president is up to the big play tonight. I think this is it. I think he is fed up with the Congress dragging their feet and the hypocrisy of the Democrats like Chuck E. Cheese Schumer and Leatherface Pelosi, who have given lip service to the question of border security, who have voted for it in the past, called for it in the past, but are now opposed for one reason and one reason only, because Donald Trump is doing it. That's why.
Let's get to the big enchilada. We've been calling for Trump to take the gloves off. This isn't martial law. Obama used these executive powers to set up the stay-behind networks. That's even in the news. Mainstream media is saying, don't do it, because it's the president's purview. Even Senator Manchin out of West Virginia had to admit, no, the president has this power. If we think he's got too much power, then Congress should reverse that. So he has this power. He's not doing it to give trillions in banker bailout to foreign banks. He's doing it. He's gotten Saudi Arabia to lower the price of oil for everybody. He's done all these great things using executive power. I mean, he's like freaking Santa Claus at this point, our cornucopia, just crapping success out. And the system's mad because they've been perched on America, selling out our power for control. He's doing it for the people now. But Roger and Owen Schroyer riding shotgun here tonight during this live coverage. President come up in about 15 minutes. There's live shot of the White House. This hit all the firings, all the removal of deep state. Doesn't this signify that the president is going on the offense, which is positive, but it also means they're going to launch their counteroffensive, doesn't it, Roger? So you're a smart cookie. You're the architect of the wall. It's now admitted. You didn't want to brag about it. We knew that years ago, but now it's been admitted by the presidency. You admitted it. I mean, you've been one of the main brainiacs here in all this. At your deepest level, we sense victory. We feel it. We're always obvious about that. We use intellectual prowess, but we also use gut. That's more important. When our intellectual analysis lines up with gut, that's called zeitgeist. What do we need to be watching for right now? Because this is sure to elicit the wrath of the needle dicks.
No, there's no question. I think this heightens the danger for the Trump presidency. The problem here, of course, is that Donald Trump was elected, but the deep state remained in control of certain segments of his government, including the Department of Justice and certain elements of the courts. And there are potentially the seeds of his destruction. This indictment today of the woman Russian lawyer is a precursor. You can see the setup. Obviously, no one raises the question of why she was meeting with Fusion GPS before and after the Trump Tower meeting. They're laying the groundwork to try to say that the Trump Tower meeting was somehow treasonous or illegal and that Donald Trump Jr. Has legal liability. I don't see it.
And let's be clear, you've advised me to go public. I haven't yet. I have told the FBI. I have told others. Fusion GPS is actually a Central Intelligence Agency front interfacing with the Russians to trick Russians into engaging in espionage to get Defense Department funding. And I'm for our military, I'm for our government, but not the traitors within it. They have officially tried to set me up via these groups. I reported to the FBI, and they know that, and they're crapping bricks right now. So the fact they're doing this, they use this fake, just like they're trying to overthrow Russia and they spend billions a year with Soros, they're using Russian networks they've got in the U.S. that really work for the left to try to set patriots up to just talk to them or take money from them to then claim this whole fake Russia thing is real, when the truth is it's the Clintons and others that sold us out to Russia. So the fact that this poor Russian woman, who quite frankly is an idiotic tart, she was running around trying to get the NRA to hire her, the Republicans to hire her. They wouldn't do it. She sent emails to the Russians saying, hey, I'm having sex with all these Republicans. Well, you hire me, and the Russians obviously didn't talk to her, thinking she was an agent. So this is all they've got. I mean, it's quite shameful, the Russian intelligence network, quite frankly, if all they've got's a woman that didn't even work for the FSB, my friend.
You're trying to prop her up to make her some kind of super spy. Look, you're talking to someone who had an FBI informant approach me in May of 2016 in a bogus effort to try to, quote unquote, sell me intelligence on Hillary Clinton. And I rejected that flatly. But now I'd like to know, if the FBI investigation didn't open until July of 2016, why is a indisputable FBI informant who's a Russian national, but who's only in the country through the good graces of the Miami office of the FBI on an informant's visa, why is he approaching me? I'll tell you why. Because I have a 40-year relationship with Donald J. Trump. And it was an effort to not only entrap me, but to compromise him.
Sure, and it failed. So we're going to go to Mike Adams and keep you on, and the president usually comes on late, but he's scheduled to speak in 9 minutes. We'll see if that happens. Live feed from the White House right now, which the media doesn't even want you to see. Some stations aren't carrying it for the first time in U.S. history. Roger, you had said 2 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago, last week on my show, Mueller claimed he was ending the investigation last year, this year. You said a week ago, he's not ending it in February. They just extended it 6 months. What do you expect out of these people?
I think tonight is going to move them into high gear. I think this only exacerbates the annoyance that the Trump election and the fact the president is following the platform that elected him just, I think, makes them double down. I still think Donald Trump Jr. is a target. I still think that Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, is a target. I still think I'm a target. Alex, got to be honest with you, I think you are a target. InfoWars and silencing us is the top of their hit list.
Yeah, you don't need to tell me I'm a target. I can't talk about it on air. You know. What do you think about what's going on, but without saying it? I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Well, it really is. It's amazing that this can happen in America. Look, Owen and I talked about this tonight. I have Eric Swallowswell going on MSNBC saying that I lied to the House Intelligence Committee. This is a setup. It's a lie. There were lies told that day, but they were told by Adam Schiff.
I was there with you emailing WikiLeaks. They wouldn't talk to us. We were mad at them. Talking to WikiLeaks isn't bad. They were talking to everybody. Listen, I want to bring Mike Adams up and continue riding shotgun with us with the president. He's set to speak in like 7.5 minutes, but he's usually about 5 minutes late. Mike Adams, naturalnews.com. You have been, along with InfoWars, the reason we have you on is the only two groups spearheading that a national emergency under law and under the articles you've written points it out that these executive orders leave, just like the president can create Space Force or Kennedy created NASA. Obama created weird stay-behind networks with university professors and media people getting up to $400,000 a year apiece. The average is about $100,000, as the documents have come out, to lie about us in an Operation Mockingbird. How scandalous. And Trump is finally moving against that. He needs to declare the emergency. What do you think is going to happen, Mike Adams?
Well, Obama created an executive infrastructure to guarantee absolute power and control for the next president after Obama, who they thought would be Hillary Clinton. Of course, they lost the election. Trump now has the power. And of course, the deep state is terrified that Trump will invoke the power that he has been, that he has inherited, not to mention the power that Congress granted him with laws passed back in the 1970s that also allow the president to declare a national emergency and to fund emergency projects. I think, Alex, tonight, President Trump, if he says the right things, he can win 2020 re-election tonight. If he doesn't take a stand for America, he may lose that election tonight. All he has to do is have the courage to invoke the power that he has to defend America against these deep state traitors and against these radical leftists who want to overrun and overthrow America. All we ask for the president to do is to do his duty, as I think he will do. So I think he's going to have a decisive speech tonight that will win the election for him in 2020.
I agree. Owen, Roger agrees. You can feel history, not just intellectually. All of us that have families and children and run things, we know how to make business decisions, a lot of decisions, but the older you get, you learn to go with your gut. It's never wrong. I've been feeling major victory here. And things may change, and Trump knows how to zig and zag, but right now, they're demonizing Mike Adams. They're demonizing me. They're demonizing you. Because they're saying, oh, we want martial law. No, they brought us into the crisis. They want all this garbage. We're trying to stabilize the country. But strength is what they fear, and they're acting so scared right now. Not just in their rhetoric. Physically, they're crapping themselves.
Well, I couldn't agree with Mike more. And Trump is about to hit his 2-year stretch halfway through his presidency here, almost, beginning the 2020 campaign cycle. The only thing is, I could see President Trump perhaps balking tonight and then laying the hammer down maybe in 2-3 weeks. He's done that in past situations.
Because he knows they're going to counterstrike, so he gets the shock away and then does it later.
But I do believe that Mike is accurate in the analysis that now is the time for President Trump to really seize the office.
Yeah, no. We either go on the offense, we roll over and die.
And he can either have a legendary moment tonight, or he can have a total flop tonight, which doesn't mean in the next play he comes up and scores 10 touchdowns. But I really.
But this is the biggest. This is bigger than coming down the escalator, bigger than nomination, bigger than winning, bigger than killing TPP.
It could be.
If he does this, this is legend, Mike Adams. This is history right now. I mean, this is so epic. I can hardly believe we're even here covering this live. I'm so honored to be here with you.
This is where we find out if Trump is for real. This is where Trump can keep his campaign promise. All he has to do is intend to build the wall, intend to keep his promise. The American people will understand if there are obstacles thrown in his way by these treasonous Democrats. We will understand that. It doesn't mean he will be 100% successful, but if he is simply on the side of America, then he wins our hearts. And
No, I agree, but let's be clear.
He wins the election.
I agree. They've been using this as we need a wall. It's a symbol of sovereignty, like a door on your house or wearing clothes. That's a wall. But it's about the executive power being invoked to remove what Trump's done. He can't do it under law until he does that. Roger Stone, you worked for Nixon on through that. Cheney was a bad guy, as you wrote about in your books. He used COG wrongly. Trump must use COG when the country is actually under attack.
Well, I agree with both Mike and Owen with this caveat, which is I think bold action tonight will guarantee that the pool of voters will be available to elect Donald Trump. If he does not deal with the issue of internet censorship and the issue of voter security, however, I believe that victory can be snatched from him. He's going to do the right thing tonight.
No, that's it. Illegals on overall aren't even bad people. They're being organized by Democrats and brought in for fraud. It's like a kitchen knife isn't a bad thing until somebody stabs you with it.
But if we don't have the ability to communicate via a vibrant and robust and free internet, and we don't have ballot security to make sure the people who vote really
No, I agree. So, Roger, let me ask you this question, and then Mike Adams and Owen quickly. You got Gomer introducing the bill to take Section 230 immunity away from the big tech giants. They are literally crapping themselves. I think that's why they're so scared. I think we're about to see that action under this emergency. Roger?
I agree. I think the president has had enough. I think that he realizes the Democrats are not dealing at all in good faith, that they're hypocrites, that based on their past records and rhetoric, they have no interest in securing the borders. They want a new reshuffle of the American electorate for all the reasons that Owen said earlier. Tonight is a historic night. I'm just glad to kind of be tuned in to watch this. I think the president has had his fill of the deep state BS. I think he understands that they are gunning for him and his presidency. And this, believe me, will gin them into high gear like nothing you've ever seen. Mueller
Absolutely. We don't know how this is going to end, but if you want to fight, you better believe you've got one. Mike Adams.
Well, Roger is exactly correct on that point. The tech giant censorship is crippling all of our speech. We were just informed by Apple that if we don't remove all videos that criticize Democrats, then they will not approve the update of our app. So it's insidious.
It's pure racketeering. It's against a whole class of people to deprive us of the marketplace, our money, our life. I mean, this is criminal.
It is criminal, and I believe there needs to be a criminal investigation and potentially indictments of the tech giant CEOs. And I'm one of the only people saying that, but under law, they are violating basic, human rights and also civil rights of.
Well, they're working as cartels against us and admitting it in their own white papers and statements on video. The Google head says, we're going to crush Republicans and make sure Democrats win 2 years ago. Then he gets up in front of Congress and says, we never do anything to conservatives. Me and Roger were in the damn audience.
Yeah,
we were being talked about in the hearing, but we weren't in the hearing, were we, Roger?
No, you just sat there and saw Sundar Pai lie, perjure himself. Again, in China, I couldn't even find it on a map. I'm not working with the Chinese. Oh, no, we're not tracking anybody. We don't disadvantage conservatives. Then you see bought and paid for corrupt politicians like Jerry Nadler saying, oh, it's a fantasy. It's a right-wing conspiracy theory that conservatives are disadvantaged in the Google searches. It's an absurdity.
All right, the president is set to speak. I want to get a 1-minute comment from, I predicted he'd talk about 5 minutes after, but he may go right to it any second. We got live feeds, satellite feeds. Remember, listeners, viewers, listen on radio, watching on TV, watching at Infowars.com. You have the power via your text messages, particularly to neighbors, to friends, to family, to say, hey, you've heard Alex Jones demonized. The media may not be covering this speech of the president for the first time ever. See it for yourself, unfiltered, satellite feed, directly from the White House. We pay for this feed. Infowars.com/show. Spread that link. Infowars.com. Let's go to the front page of Infowars.com. We also have an article up there, live coverage of Trump's Oval Office address. Everyone, this is how we get around the censors. They're working around the clock to keep you from seeing what's happening. Go to Infowars.com/show. Sign up there for David Knight, Owen Schroyer, myself, the free podcast. Just watch the live feeds there. You are the absolute tip of the spear, the back of the spear of the whole war. You don't do it, we fail. You've been doing it, and it really pisses them off. Let's go back to that live feed of the whitehouse.gov. As soon as that goes up, we're going to leave that feed up live. Let's just keep talking until the president comes in. Again, a minute from Roger, a minute from Owen, a minute from Mike Adams. Roger?
Most important night of the Trump presidency, in my opinion.
Yes.
This is where he lays down the gauntlet to the deep state and to the two-party duopoly that has run this country into the gutter. This is his signature issue. It's the single most important reason, other than revitalizing our economy, for his election, and I believe he knows it.
It looks like President Trump is about to go live right now.
Tonight, I am speaking to you because there is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border. Every day, Customs and Border Patrol agents encounter thousands of illegal immigrants trying to enter our country. We are out of space to hold them, and we have no way to promptly return them back home to their country. America proudly welcomes millions of lawful immigrants who enrich our society and contribute to our nation. But all Americans are hurt by uncontrolled illegal migration. It strains public resources and drives down jobs and wages. Among those hardest hit are African Americans and Hispanic Americans. Our southern border is a pipeline for vast quantities of illegal drugs, including meth, heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl. Every week, 300 of our citizens are killed by heroin alone, 90% of which floods across from our southern border. More Americans will die from drugs this year than were killed in the entire Vietnam War. In the last 2 years, ICE officers made 266,000 arrests of aliens with criminal records, including those charged or convicted of 100,000 assaults, 30,000 sex crimes, and 4,000 violent killings. Over the years, thousands of Americans have been brutally killed by those who illegally entered our country, and thousands more lives will be lost if we don't act right now. This is a humanitarian crisis, a crisis of the heart, and a crisis of the soul. Last month, 20,000 migrant children were illegally brought into the United States, a dramatic increase. These children are used as human pawns by vicious coyotes and ruthless gangs. 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted on the dangerous trek up through Mexico. Women or children are the biggest victims, by far, of our broken system. This is the tragic reality of illegal immigration on our southern border. This is the cycle of human suffering that I am determined to end. My administration has presented Congress with a detailed proposal to secure the border and stop the criminal gangs, drug smugglers, and human traffickers. It's a tremendous problem. Our proposal was developed by law enforcement professionals and border agents at the Department of Homeland Security. These are the resources they have requested to properly perform their mission and keep America safe. In fact, safer than ever before. The proposal from Homeland Security includes cutting-edge technology for detecting drugs, weapons, illegal contraband, and many other things. We have requested more agents, immigration judges, and bed space to process the sharp rise in unlawful migration fueled by our very strong economy. Our plan also contains an urgent request for humanitarian assistance and medical support. Furthermore, we have asked Congress to close border security loopholes so that illegal immigrant children can be safely and humanely returned back home. Finally, as part of an overall approach to border security, law enforcement professionals have requested $5.7 billion for a physical barrier. At the request of Democrats, it will be a steel barrier rather than a concrete wall. This barrier is absolutely critical to border security. It's also what our professionals at the border want and need. This is just common sense. The border wall would very quickly pay for itself. The cost of illegal drugs exceeds $500 billion a year, vastly more than the $5.7 billion we have requested from Congress. The wall will also be paid for indirectly by the great new trade deal we have made with Mexico. Senator
we're
Chuck
about
Schumer,
halfway into this,
who you will
and I've not heard the
be hearing
declaration of
from
emergency.
later tonight, has repeatedly supported a physical barrier in the past, along with many other Democrats. They changed their mind only after I was elected president. Democrats in Congress have refused to
I think it's great
acknowledge
that he
the
should
crisis.
do
And they have
national addresses to do
refused to
this, but
provide our
he's been
brave
talking
border
about the
agents
national emergency. He needs that
with
to
the
go
tools
around the
they
stay behind
desperately
networks
need to protect
and get to
our
Waldo.
families and our nation.
See what happens.
The federal government remains shut down for one reason, and one reason only, because Democrats will not fund border security. My administration is doing everything in our power to help those impacted by the situation. But the only solution is for Democrats to pass a spending bill that defends our borders and reopens the government. This situation could be solved in a 45-minute meeting. I have invited congressional leadership to the White House tomorrow.
Oh, here it comes. He's tried. They won't do it.
this
Emergency.
Done. Hopefully,
Do it, Trump.
we can rise above partisan politics in order to support national security. Some have suggested a barrier is immoral. Then why do wealthy politicians build walls, fences, and gates around their homes? They don't build walls because they hate the people on the outside, but because they love the people on the inside. The only thing that is immoral is the politicians to do nothing and continue to allow
so people's
more
dog doesn't bite
innocent
your kid.
people to be so horribly victimized.
So a thief
America's
doesn't
heart
come
broke
in your
the
house.
day
No, people know
after
it. That place has
Christmas
got damn walls. I'm
when a
going to go
young
there.
police officer in California was savagely murdered in cold blood by an illegal alien who just came across the border. The life of an American hero was stolen by someone who had no right to be in our country. Day after day, precious lives are cut short by those who have violated our borders. In California, an Air Force veteran was raped, murdered, and beaten to death with a hammer by an illegal alien with a long criminal history. In Georgia, an illegal alien was recently charged with murder for killing, beheading, and dismembering his neighbor.
Illegal
In
aliens
Maryland,
create
MS-13 gang members who arrived
more
in
than
the
10
United
times
States
the crime
as
per
unaccompanied
person.
minors
It's
were
not that,
arrested
on
and
average,
charged
most
last year
Hispanics, they're criminals.
after
The percentage that is
viciously
criminal is very
stabbing
high.
and
With
beating
about
a
30% of the prison
16-year-old girl.
population is non-citizens
Over
and
the
legal
last
citizens.
several years, I've met with dozens of families whose loved ones were stolen by illegal immigration. I've held the hands of the weeping
Well,
mothers and embraced
he said he may declare an emergency. We're in an emergency.
grief-stricken
We've not heard this yet.
fathers. So sad.
And, you know, I trust the
So
president and everything
terrible.
else, but he needs to do that to
I will
countermand
never forget the
O-
pain in their eyes,
The Obama emergency. He
the
needs to sign
tremble in their
executive order to get rid of
voices,
it.
and the sadness gripping their
He
souls.
doesn't have to call it an emergency,
How
but
much
that's what it is in
more
law.
American
Get
blood
rid of the Obama martial
must
law.
we shed
Get rid of the stay-behind
before
networks.
Congress does its job? To those who refuse to compromise in the name of border security, I would ask, imagine if it was your child, your husband, or your wife whose life was so cruelly shattered and totally broken. To every member of Congress, pass a bill that ends this crisis. To every citizen, call Congress and tell them to finally, after all of these decades, secure our border. This is a choice between right and wrong,
He's not
justice
gonna declare the
and
emergency.
injustice. This is about
He
whether
thinks
we
he's gonna make
fulfill our
Congress do
sacred
the right
duty
thing, and if he can't,
to the
he'll do it.
American citizens we serve. When I took the oath of office, I swore to protect our country.
And see, if they won't do it,
that
he'll
is
do
what
it. Maybe he is.
I will always do. So help me God. Thank you and good night.
So see, Zero Hedge has some of the best sources, and they said no. He was thinking about it at the last minute. He didn't. He wants to make them do the right thing and then do it later. And you heard Roger, who's a smart guy and been one of the chief advisors of Trump, the guy that first had the wall idea, say, I think he's going to do the right thing tonight. You heard Mike Adams say he hopes he would. I thought he would. I'm almost always right. But I've learned Zero Hedge. And I just tell the truth here. Like, okay, Zero Hedge is amazing. Trump will not invoke emergency powers to build border wall and address. In fact, print me that. I read it today, but print it for me so I'm not squinting my eyes over there 30 feet away at that TV, and I'll read that. They threatened a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, economic implosion, you name it, if he did this. And I know how Trump works. I kind of predicted this before the show. I kind of figured he was going to do it. Things changed, and he says, okay, I'll see if they do the right thing. Give them the chance. If they won't, he'll do the executive order. But the border, the existential threat to sovereignty, that's real. But it's the excuse for the emergency under law because the media will spin it to get rid of all the globalist executive orders and Obama crap. So I'm not going to give Trump a total pass. If in 30 days from now this hasn't worked out or he hasn't reversed the executive orders, I'm going to think that they have compromised Trump. Let's go to Roger Stone, former chief advisor, 40 years, friends with him, architect of the wall. We're not bragging, Roger, but that's admitted. Roger, what the hell do you make of what you just saw?
Well, I think the president is making a play here. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't at least invoke the threat at the end. In other words, he's giving Congress another chance. He's gone directly to the American people. He's hoping for a citizen uprising of public support to put enormous pressure on the Democrats. I don't think it will work. I think he will end up having no choice but to invoke his executive powers. But clearly, he has decided to hedge his bets. But he still preserves that power, and he hasn't denied that he has it. I'm a little surprised. On the other hand, I still think the administration is riddled with political insiders who are timid in their approach, and I think they keep trying to water down Trumpism. This is a dangerous moment. And I agree with you, Alex. I think that they probably leveled a number of economic and legal threats. The president surely knew that if he invoked his executive powers tonight, the Democrats would be in court tomorrow morning trying to block him, and we would go into a long standoff of legal nonsense.
Sure, but I mean, he's in his right. They've used executive power to screw the country. He's trying to save it. I'm not mad at Trump. I'm just simply saying that, yet again, Zero Hedge has been proven to be, I mean, we're super accurate too, but when somebody's accurate, I'll just give them credit. Because we're the ones that introduced the national emergency. We pointed out the powers of it, how they would always do it quietly to screw us over, that he should use it to empower America. And now we've seen this. I'm going back to you in a moment, Roger. Mike Adams, you have been researching the executive orders. You have been I'm not just kissing your ass, it's true, a stalwart workhorse in real research about what the president should do. Spend 5 minutes, and then we'll go to Owen and then back to Roger and then to our next guest on what you just saw. I'm not going to second guess the president. He knows things we don't know, but we're going to go to Pelosi and Schumer. Just pause their BS. They'll attack whatever he does. America existing, they hate it. We'll go to those pieces of crap in a minute, but I can't even listen to them. Let's just pause it. And we'll do it and not live, but later. Mike Adams of Natural News, go ahead.
Well, this tells me actually that Trump is planning on invoking a national emergency at some point. I think he has set up the moral argument tonight with the humanitarian angle.
Well, that's it. He's now calling on the people and involving them in the fight so they have ownership of it.
And if the Democrats then fail to approve the funding necessary for this wall, next, Trump can say that the Democrats are responsible for all the deaths and all the human suffering that is happening because of this illegal immigration situation. Now, think about it. Many of the facts that Trump mentioned in his short speech tonight are facts that have been denied the American public by the dishonest media that lies and twists and withholds information that the American public needs to know. So I see this as step one in a multi-phase strategy that will end up invoking a national emergency unless the Democrats cave first.
Well, I agree with you, Mike. I think I see President Trump kind of taking the hammer up to the top rung right now, the final rung, if you will, as kind of a last I don't know if threat is the right word, but a last, like, look, I still want to negotiate. I still want to get this done right. I still want the American people to know we're united in national security and border security and common sense. And I suspect, I mean, the Democrats are not going to go along with it. Trump knows that. He's smarter than that. I suspect in about 2 weeks, probably around like January 21st or before the end of January, if the Trump playbook holds, he will probably come out in about 2 weeks. I don't know if he'll declare a national emergency, but he'll do something either executively or legislatively to get funding for the wall and to take care of this issue. I do think he was kind of signaling that with his speech tonight. And like I said before we went live, that's kind of something Trump does. Well, he'll build up a bunch of energy, not come through in the moment, and then kind of come through later after there's a bunch of outrage from the Ann Coulters and other people. Roger?
Oh, well, let me just add real quick. Sorry, but I think that what he will
Mike,
say
make your
is
point.
they
We'll go back
left
to
me
Roger.
no choice. He'll say they left me no choice. And so he's setting up that. I didn't mean to interrupt, Roger. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, Mike, you finish your point. We'll go to Roger. We're all good here.
Well, again, he's just setting up the situation so that 2 or 3 weeks down the road, Trump can say, they left me no choice. We cannot allow this human suffering to continue. I must now invoke these emergency powers because the Democrats are refusing to protect these lives. That's
I want to
what
be
Trump
clear.
has just put into play.
Yes, and we predicted this was all coming. We've not been discredited. Now, I don't spin things. If I'm wrong about something every once in a while, I'll say it. I want to be wrong. Believe me, I wish I wasn't right. This is what needs to be done. We're not fetishizing civil emergency. We're not fetishizing the power of executive. We couldn't find the clip today, but I was at 8 a.m. lifting weights in my gym that's in my garage. And Senator Manchin is on from West Virginia, and he's a Democrat, and he's like, well, we gave the presidency these executive dictatorial powers, and if people want to reverse those, that's fine, but he has the power to do this, just like killing TPP, everything. So they, again, I'm explaining this, just like Kennedy set up NASA, just like Reagan fired the air traffic controllers, just like presidents have set up new departments and new agencies, Woodrow Wilson, the national parks. Obama set up CIA networks that we've covered in nauseum, it's public, to engage in domestic propaganda and suppression of the people. And Trump has not reversed it yet. Now, he's done a lot of stuff he said, and he's surrounded by traitors, and it comes out, they won't do, he signs an executive order, they throw it in the trash can. I mean, it's insane. And they play dumb. They go, sir, we gave that to the agency. We don't know why. He's so used to saying something and, hey, sell these condos, or hey, raise the price to this or cut the price, or hey, this golf course.
Even if it's
we're going to allow blacks and Jews on the golf course. I mean, this is literally the decisions he makes, or we're going to serve this type of steak. They don't follow the order. So I give him that pass. But at a certain point, I'll still give him a B+, but I'm going to start getting on his ass if he doesn't take action. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, to add to that, he also does that 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and that's why a lot of these people can't keep up with him, because he's picking up a phone at 4 a.m. saying, I need this, I need that.
Well, he knows no one's awake. The deep state's not awake. If he launches operations at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., which I've told the whole crew, we ought to get up at 2 a.m., that's where everything gets decided.
I think President Trump looks at the situation and he's trying to build momentum right now. And for us that have been dealing with these corrupt bureaucrats and Democrats, and we know about this.
Yeah, we're way ahead of the learning curve. He's trying to get the public invested.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of Trump's angle here, is to get the public aware and more invested in that, have the fake news attack him. Because even the wall and border security polls high with Democrats. I just saw another poll today. I'm seeing polls every day. 77% of Democrats support the wall. 87% of Democrats.
That's like bulkheads on submarines?
So what are the Democrats?
Well, wait. Why do we have windows on an airplane? It's racist to not let the air in. We should go to 30,000 feet and we all die.
No, I think that we should make...
seriously, why are there doors on airplanes?
No, I think doors should be illegal, period.
Because they said they're immoral. I mean, you try to go to any Democrat event or Congress, or it's walls and troops and dogs and helicopters, and you go to any global, it's huge walls. My house doesn't have a wall.
Well, and
these people have these big, giant ass walls, and we're not supposed to have one.
Nancy Pelosi has a wall and a moat.
Just two walls.
A moat?
She has a little wall, then a moat and a 10-foot fence with spikes.
She probably has radiological alligators in there too, or something crazy.
But again, it's the murdering of truth. So let's go back to Roger Stone. And guys, don't be polite here. Run for a while. Yeah, look at that's one of her houses with a 10-foot wall. Roger and then Mike Adams. Then we're going to get the founder of Wealth Keepers on. I'm not a cheerleader for Trump. I don't get paid by Trump. I'm not invested in it. I know the globalists hate him. They've come after me like nothing I've ever seen for supporting him. And I think overall he's doing a great job. You know, the head of the World Bank's been gotten out. You know, the head of the World Bank's been gotten out. The Chi-Com operative, the Chi-Com 5G person's been arrested. I mean, there's no doubt we got ships cruising around in so-called Chinese waters. I mean, Trump's stepping out big. Roger, gut level, you're a smart cookie. What do you now with this new intel think?
Well, I think the president may have sidestepped a trap here. You've seen a buildup in the mainstream media over the last couple of weeks. Trump is unhinged. Trump is unstable. Trump is frustrated. Trump is paranoid. Trump is angry. Trump is, and of course, I don't think any of those things are true. And I think they were prepared to pounce, and now there's nothing to pounce on. He has laid the gauntlet down one more time. He's demonstrated that he's being reasonable. It's the Democrats who are being recalcitrant. On the other hand, I've known him 40 years. There is always a point beyond which you cannot push him. And he is mindful that the deep state would love to set up a Saturday night massacre type situation in which they make a case for a 28th Amendment removal or impeachment, which I still think is very, very much on their agenda. Mike Adams and I exchanged text messages a couple of days. We really think it's all up for grabs here. The president has the power to not only save the country, but save himself. The question remains, will he use the power he has? And will the people around him be candid about what exactly that power is and how to exercise it?
And all the viewers out there, we're going to go to Mike Adams here in just a moment. This is not a normal political season. When I say Trump's real, he's for America. He believes America should be running things in America. And he's not beholden. He did fire all of the lobbyists. He did do that. So that's why they're pissed. I mean, just that. And now the fact that the Federal Reserve declared war on the economy. And just yesterday, the Federal Reserve head, after the head of the World Bank, which is part of that, that's the International Federal Reserve head. Once Trump cut one head off the Federal Reserve, the other head crapped its britches, its big boy pants, and said no more interest rates 2019. How devastating. We should have started the show with that. Ding dong, the witch is dead, the witch, oh witch, the witch, oh witch. Ding dong, the witch is dead. But seriously, I don't like bubbles. I don't like fiat stuff. But if China and everybody else has a 0% interest rate, why should we have 7 interest rates and be 5 times higher than them? It's not fair, just like Gerald Celente said yesterday. So the fact that he's got the head of the World Bank that we run fired for being a Chi-Com operative, the fact that he's got the Federal Reserve backing down, this is not some ass-kicking or ass-kissing contest for Trump. This is a reality check that just like I wish he declared the emergency today to reverse Obama, he's introducing the idea that there is an emergency and getting us to salivate and to wait. So we're entering the Trump dimension here. Roger Stone.
The president seemed oddly subdued to me, and that's a little disturbing. He seemed to be lacking a certain spark, and I can't really explain that.
No, I'll say that. You know him well. So what he did seem to not have the Trump bravado. So what was that?
I'm not really certain what to make of it. I've seen a number of text messages here in the last few minutes from major reporters who suggest he was even slurring a little bit, although I did not notice that. He seemed to be building towards this moment all day. The buildup in the media, I thought, was appropriate. He positioned himself.
And they were palpably afraid of him being an American executive. They're scared of this moment.
No, I think, Roger, I'd like to get your take on this. I think President Trump decidedly made his delivery in this fashion tonight so that he could reach other people that say, oh, he's too brash, he's too brazen, he's too extreme.
No, I agree, but you can't reach.
He kind of did the NPR thing where you do the nice, subtle thing like, oh, this is what's happening.
But I've learned you can't reach these people.
I think
they want to stay poor and dumb.
Yeah, that's just what I would reason. I didn't hear him slurring, though. I didn't hear any of that.
Well, but the media watchword for the last 2 weeks has been impulsive. He's too impulsive. He's too explosive. And I think
But he shouldn't buy into that. Oh, it's impulsive. He better not do it. Whatever they say he shouldn't do, he should do. Attack!
I don't disagree. I think he may have bought into that in terms of recalibrating his strategy. I'm going to be watching the polls here very carefully. I think he will be also, and I think that's going to tell the story.
No, I think you're right. I think he'll go up in the polls, but that doesn't matter. He needs to remove the scourge of the stay-behind networks, Roger.
But he needs the public support network to do it, Alex. Otherwise, his presidency will not be survived.
No, I agree, but listen, I said he would declare an emergency today from his statements, from Pence's statements, from what we've been pushing. No one ever said national emergency until we did. So we're right in that we said the big issue is that. We don't want the emergency. We're already under an Obama emergency he used with the defense authorization to set the government against Trump and America. He must declare the emergency under law to remove it, Roger. That's what I'm saying.
I could not agree more. If you go back and look at the very first story I reported when I joined InfoWars, it was about the codicils that were tucked into the military appropriations that gave Obama these broad powers. And the president now needs to recognize that they were created for Hillary Clinton. They were created for the deep state, but they've been handed to him, and he has to use them or he will
Exactly,
lose them.
and if he just names them, they will be destroyed they can't believe he's not resisting them. And so he's doing all these good things, but he doesn't get when I talk to Oliver Darcy, who I know is one of the chief, he's a general. That little chicken neck is a general in this. And we know that from sources, but also his actions. That they banned me on Twitter when I said he's a general in the Stay Behind network to censor people in the foreign disinformation and counter operation of the CIA. And when I said that, he started hyperventilating because this dude thinks he's cool because he's a spy. He's not a spy for America. He's a spy for a bunch of jerks. So all I'm saying is, Roger, we have to do this.
I saw him physically run from you like a cockroach. It was one of the most entertaining things I have seen in the last 12 months. And I think you're absolutely right. They realize that we are at a crucial moment here. The key question is whether the president realizes that they are still as committed to taking him down and removing him before he can erect this border as ever. So he has really, I think, extended the danger zone here for himself, and that does concern me.
Well, look, he knows a lot of things we don't know, but we predicted. I mean, Roger, and I'm going to go back to Mike Adams. And I want everybody to spend time here today. So, up any time, Mike and Owen. You told me 2 years ago Bannon was a bad guy, and I said at dinner with you, "Look, the president's got him. I don't want to end fight. Let's not do it." And then you said he brought in Mattis, he brought in Kelly. These guys are deep state slime bags, and now it's all confirmed. So you tell us what you really know now, because he's gotten rid of them finally, which scares the hell out of him. And he's been hamstrung by these people. So Roger and then Mike Adams and then Owen about what we're dealing with here.
This is a key point, Alex, and that is General Kelly physically left the White House.
Yeah, but let's talk about it. You told me 2 years ago Bannon was bad and wanted to go after him, and I said no, so you didn't, so I feel guilty. You said that. You said the generals were globalist cocksuckers, excuse my French. So tell us not how you knew, but who's the new enemy? Break it down.
Well, again, I think General Kelly didn't leave until yesterday. As I understand it, he was impeding progress on a number of fronts right up until the last minute. He is now physically out of the building.
But you were the first to say it, so who does he work for?
Oh, I think he is. His job was to be a minder for Donald Trump for the deep state, as was Rex Tillerson, as was H.R. McMaster, one of the greatest disasters of all time. Trump is slowly now, only in the second year of his presidency, assembling a cabinet of realists and loyalists, and a staff of realists and loyalists. And he still has quislings around him. There are still people who urge him not to be bold.
Sure. So without pausing, and I'm going to let you go in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We'll go to Mike Adams, then Owen, then we got our next guest. What does Trump need to do? Where are we, Roger? You're one of his chief advisors, been a chief advisor. You're a smart guy. What the hell is going on? What's happening? What's Trump need to do right now?
The 30 days that you spoke about earlier is way too long. The president needs to give them a week, 5 working weekdays. If he does not have progress on sealing our border, then he has no choice but to exercise the full use of his executive powers. And while he's at it, he needs to clean up a number of other problems. That's what I think he must do.
Mike Adams, let's get your take.
Well, I've got 3 points of analysis here. First of all, Trump's declaration of a national emergency, whenever that happens, we must remember it does not require him to verbally speak the words. He can simply sign the appropriate piece of paper, and that can happen at any time without a public announcement. So, it may have already happened, or he may plan to do that in 5 days, as Roger hints. Secondly, Trump's speech tonight reaffirms his careful movement here, knowing that he will need public support for any additional declaration of a national emergency to fund the border wall. Trump is realizing that he can't do this alone, I believe. He needs to lay out the argument. He needs to provide the justification for why he has no other choice, and that's exactly what he did tonight. The third point on my notes here is that let's remember one reason why Democrats oppose a border wall. The legalization of the cannabis industry in the United States has caused drug trafficking profits to plummet, and the drug cartels of Mexico have increasingly turned to human trafficking. And human trafficking not just from south to north, but also from the United States, kidnapped American children being taken across the border into Mexico. This is a worsening humanitarian crisis that Trump has invoked tonight, and he, I believe, will continue to try to educate Americans about why it's crucial to stop that in order to save the lives of these children and teens who are disappearing in America and being ferreted across the border by drug traffickers who used to be carrying marijuana. Now they're carrying children who are being kidnapped. So this effort by Trump is, I believe, building momentum. As you said, Owen, it's building momentum to a declaration of an additional emergency beyond the ones that are already in place. And I think that over the next, 5 to 10 days, something in that area, we are going to see Trump sign a piece of paper that invokes additional executive powers that have been granted to him by Congress as well as previous administrations. That's my analysis, Owen.
Well, and we're going to hear from Stuart Rhodes here in just about 10 minutes, the founder of Oath Keepers, who has had men down at the border just monitoring the situation, keeping an eye on it. They've even had helicopters and such. So he's going to be joining us shortly. But I just think that President Trump is doing everything he can to try to unite America. And it's such a hard task to do when the media lies about him all day. The media lies about America all day. The children are indoctrinated in the public schools and the colleges. So it's really an uphill battle.
America existing is bad. No borders, no wall, no USA at all.
Yeah, death to America.
I'm going to let Roger and Mike Adams go. We're going to get the head of Oath Keepers on here. But Roger, Mike Adams, roll with it. I mean, there'll be headlines out tomorrow. Jones predicted national emergency. It didn't happen. The point is we've introduced the idea of national emergency to the public. The president knows they're going to misrepresent the national emergency. So I said he may do this. He's introducing it to them right now. I think this is, and I'm not putting perfume on a pig. I'd rather get to the attack politically, but we are kind of blind and I'm not bragging that we're so informed. Like you said earlier, and like Roger and Mike said, we're so in this, we don't get Trump's introducing this to people where we're like, champion marksmen or something. We're trying to teach kids how to use BB guns here. Mike, Roger?
Yeah. Well said, Alex. These ideas are new to a lot of people because the national media has deliberately kept this information from the American public. So what Trump is doing here is strategically, I think, very wise. He knows that even his Twitter feed only has a limited number of viewers, although it's large, but it's still not as many people as he reaches with this.
Well, still shadow banned.
Broadcast. Yeah, exactly. So I think that Trump is going to build more toward the invocation of a national emergency. And we're either going to see, I believe, this is my prediction, Alex, we're either going to see the Democrats cave and fund this, or we will see the invocation of an additional national emergency. One or the other
And I
will
think
happen.
there's no doubt, Mike Adams of naturalnews.com, that you're right. And so he's being very fair. He's a counterpuncher. He's giving them the chance to say no. And that's why it's so important for all of us to be more politically and culturally involved than ever. Owen?
Well, and, you know, we need to be able to go out in public and wear our colors with pride, because there's a big con right now. There's a big psyop on the American people that Trump supporters are in the minority. Trump supporters don't exist. We're all, you know, toothless hillbillies and this, that, and the other thing. The only way for us to counter that narrative is to physically counter it.
Oh, I worked out this morning and my trainer showed up in a Trump shirt. He never does that. And then I went to a coffee shop on my way here and there were 2 people wearing Trump shirts. I think people get now is the time to say no to the bullies.
Alex, I can't even go to the gym anymore without, you know, high school and college students recognizing me and just saying how much they love InfoWars. So it's weird. I think that the propaganda, anti-American...
Oh, I'm not bragging. My oldest daughter, I've got 3 daughters and a son. I got 4 children. Daughters, 14 down to 20 months. My daughter, says, will you come pick me up at this house? So I go to some house party with the parents at a birthday party. There'll be like 20 girls there and their parents, and they're all listeners, and they all want pictures with me. And then she had 3 girls over Saturday, and I was like, yeah, I got home late. I'm gonna go watch a TV show with my wife, go to bed. And they're like, no, Dad, come take photos and shoot videos for their parents. They're such fans. I'm not bragging. Oh, I'm famous. The point is, yes, people are awake.
And they know about us. Even the censorship isn't working. So I think that the propaganda against America in the public schools and then the propaganda against you and InfoWars is having a reverse effect.
Well, listen, we didn't try to do this. We didn't try to be. Here's the thing. In 1970, there was outlaw country radio, but they didn't call themselves outlaw. Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, a few others. But as soon as they said you're banned off the radio, within 10 years, they were half the songs played on the radio. So what is the establishment thinking, Roger Stone, Mike Adams, to make Roger Stone, Mike Adams, Owen Schroyer, InfoWars, outlaw country radio? Because they're not doing it on purpose.
No, there's no question that we have benefited from the so-called Streisand effect. Tell people, no, you can't listen to Alex Jones. You're not allowed to listen to Alex Jones. We're not going to let you listen to Alex Jones. Well, the first thing you want to do is look up Alex Jones and see who he is and what he's saying. I think we have benefited from that in the short term. But I've also experienced the other side of this. I was with Jacob Engels from the Central Florida Post. Walking down the street, we did a video for InfoWars on a side street in Fort Lauderdale. Guy pulls up to the corner, rolls down the window, starts screaming at me. You're a Russian spy. You're a piece of garbage. You'll die in prison. You're going to jail, and so on. I ignored him. He went around the block. As I was crossing the street, he came out of nowhere at about 80 miles an hour. I stepped out of the way by 3 feet. I would have been killed. He didn't hit the brakes. That means it wasn't aggravated assault. It was attempted murder. So it's a 50-50.
No, you're right. I'm not here saying we're winning. I just want listeners to know that people are awake, but you're right. This is nip and tuck. People, we need your prayers. It's crazy. Mike Adams?
All we have to do to win, and this applies to Trump as well, as I believe, is continue to hold our ground, speak our truth, and use the power that we have, both the constitutional power and the divine God-given power. You know, the enemy expects us to fold. The enemy expects us to surrender to their tyranny and their evil and their deception. If we don't, number one, first, they are astonished. They can't believe that you're still on the air, for example. But secondly, they are ultimately defeated. You know, it's almost like, what was it Kennedy who said, right? The greatest fear is fear itself. If we defeat ourselves through fear of the globalists, then that's on us. But all we have to do is hold our ground and speak our truth and continue to fight for liberty, fight for America, fight for border security, fight for our president, the man we elected.
The only fear we have is fear itself. Roosevelt and Kennedy did repeat that. You're right. Mike Adams, naturalnews.com. Listen, we've come from nowhere a couple of years ago saying declare a national emergency to override the Obama emergencies to where it's the top story. Will there be an emergency? Did we get what we wanted tonight? No. I trust Trump. We'll see what happens. Mike Adams, naturalnews.com, Brighteon.com, the alternative to YouTube. Great job. We're glad you're there, and we salute you.
Thank you.
You know, Alex, I'd like to say something real quick about what Mike just said that's actually so incredible, but yet so true that we can't even comprehend it because it's so out of our mind. But they really thought banning you from social media would shut you down.
Like, they actually thought that Alex Jones was going to stop when you took him off YouTube.
But that's because they'd already taken thousands of regular veterans and Christians. And
did you ever?
People said, "Oh, let's kill cops." No, don't kill cops for no reason. They'd ban those sites. I mean, anything good and wholesome they banned. So they thought, oh, Jones doesn't have his own Infowars.com, his own Newswars.com, his own radio stations, TV. They thought I was like everybody else they picked on.
It's just amazing how disconnected these people are from reality. But then in that same aspect, we're disconnected from them too, because we don't understand what it's like. We can't even comprehend the pathetic existence of an Oliver Darcy. We can't even comprehend the rat.
Where you go around and lie about people and take them off the air, and
like
no one watches you, and you're a chicken neck because you're so evil and ugly. The system loves you because the weird hunchbacks that run CNN like you because you're uglier than them.
And so just as they can't comprehend our willingness to continue to fight for liberty, unborn children, sovereignty, independence, we'll never be able to comprehend just the disgust of their existence, the Oliver Darcys, the Brian Stelters, the Jim Acostas. We cannot comprehend that low-level psychology. Their existence is so pathetic, we'll never be able to comprehend it, just like they can't understand, well, Alex Jones, we shut him down. We lied about him. We said he was KKK racist. Why is he still fighting? Don't you know we tried to destroy him?
Well, you've always heard the term from Shakespeare, hounds of hell. Cry havoc, release the dogs of war. And I'm a big war historian because it's so interesting. It's not like you're reading fiction. It's not like you're playing World of Warcraft or you're playing some video game or you're watching a movie that's fiction. It's real. But if you look at World War I, which both sides were wrong, it shouldn't have happened. It was the British Empire basically fighting the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and assassinations of different royalty of the Germans when their own family was German royalty in England tricked them into the war. So World War I was wrong against the Germans. But once the Germans got in the war, they were very pig-headed, very stupid, and could be manipulated. And they had defeated the Russians on the Eastern Front with Hindenburg and others, and Ludendorff. And they were turning east to face all these armies. And for the first few years, they'd smashed the French, the British, all of them. And then they ran into the Marines in a couple of these fights. And because the Germans were ready to die, but they already killed a lot of their men. So we were fighting a lot of their, they were ready to fight. They were like 18 years old. They weren't like, 30 and already been a bunch of wars in the Hungarian Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire. And the Germans said it's like they're crazed dogs. They love the killing and death even more than we do. And that's what freaked them out. And so it's that these weren't pedophiles raping some kid in a crazy deal. These were men overwhelmed 3-1 with bayonets, killing Germans, frothing, getting off so bad that it sent a shockwave through the Germans. And that was the one place they punched through to try to take over Paris. And the Marines, the French, and everybody was running. The British were running. Everyone was backing off because the main German assault, they did hammer blows, is what Hindenburg called them. Instead of big mainline attacks, it was like pincer attacks, which is a double attack, but hammer blows with multiple points in to cut through. And the Marines just weren't afraid to die. They were crazed killers. And the Germans found someone in the joy of war crazier than them, all because of the Marine Corps history. And they crapped themselves, and that began to kill the morale because they didn't care. They say Marines killed 10-1 Germans there. Normally it was Germans killing 3-1 other people. And it wasn't that Brits or French were weak. It was that whatever spirit was in the Marine Corps couldn't be broken. And so that's what I'm saying is we have to have that spirit of the joy of fighting these people, and we can't be stopped. Roger Stone, closing comments, and we're going to go to the founder of Oath Keepers, Stuart Rose, and get his take on this speech tonight.
Alex, I think in the end we win because, as Lincoln said, it's not a question whether God is on our side, but is whether we are on his side. My life was spared the other day when a maniac tried to run me down on the street.
And that's big news. Talk about this. I didn't know this story because I have them threaten me. I had a guy in Seattle when I was visiting my wife's friends there a year ago try to run me over out of a parking garage. I jumped out of the way and he said, "I'll kill you." And I said, "Get out." I never even really told that story. Tell us this. This shows how Roger Stone, a leftist, tried to kill you. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. I was doing a video for InfoWars. Jacob Engels was filming it. I was on a street corner. This guy pulls up to the corner, rolls the window down. I don't know whether he's going to be friendly or unfriendly. He starts screaming at me, "You're a Russian, you're a spy, you're a traitor, you're going to die in prison, you're going to jail." I just ignored him. He went around the block. We walked about a half a block. We started to cross the street at a crosswalk. And then out of nowhere, there's this guy coming at me at 80 miles an hour. I jump out of the way. Jacob thoughtfully grabs the guy's license plate number, which we have on video or in a still photograph. And then I had to confer with my lawyers. Do I really want the publicity? I really don't want the publicity, to be honest with you. But my life was spared. There's no question.
Roger, so do you have any video of this? This is going to be international news. This is important.
We have a photo of it, I believe. But again,
well, you should come on tomorrow with a photo. We should call the police because this is serious. I was walking past a parking garage, and the guy waves me, and I'm with my wife, and the nanny and the baby are at a hotel. We're about to leave in like an hour to get the plane back to Austin. She was visiting friends from college where she went there at Washington State in Seattle. And the guy waves me forward. He's got a girl in the car. He's driving a Range Rover. So I step out. He runs the car, almost hits me. I jump back. He goes, "Yeah, bitch." He pulls over. He goes, "I'll beat your ass." He's got tattoos. And I'm not proud of it, but I said, "Get out." My wife was there. I said, "Get out." He said, "Oh, you hope I don't." And I said, "Just get out, man. You think you're some UFC badass? You try to run me over. Get out of the car." Try to run me over. I was going to stomp his ass in the ground. There was not going to be any problem. And that sumbitch rode off and kept cussing at me. I think on my phone I've got some video of it once it was halfway in, but it's the craziness of these people. They're nuts, Roger.
Well, you know what, Alex? I ran the place, of course, and I know exactly who it is that tried to run me down. So let's talk about it tomorrow on the Alex Jones Show. I'll name this culprit. I will shame him because...
No, I want the photo. I want to talk to you in the morning. I want to say, this is what the plates come back. This is reportedly them, and I want to pay. We'll get PIs, whatever. I want to go to his house peacefully and say, "Who are you, big man?" You know? In fact, you want to fly to Florida and come with you to his house?
If you want to do that, that would be fine. Look, I'm going through some very difficult times here, as you know, because the deep state is bearing down on me. They're desperate to find some wrongdoing on my part. And
as you predicted, they were supposed to end in February. They've just extended the witch hunt 6 months.
Right. Now I've got Eric Swallowswell saying, "Oh, Stone lied before the committee." That's what we're down to? Manufactured, fabricated perjury charges? What happened to the Russian collusion? What happened to the WikiLeaks collaboration? Oh, we don't have any of that.
Roger, we'll talk tomorrow. StoneColdTruth.com. People should support you there. You've got a fundraiser where you sign rocks from your neighbor's yard that say...
Those are from Home Depot.
From Home Depot. And so, again, we love you, Roger. Good job. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I look forward to it, Alex. Thanks.
And again, we got 10 minutes till break, but I'll go over stations. This is commercial free. Founder of Oath Keepers, Army veteran, former one of the head guys for Ron Paul, great patriot, founder of Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes. You've heard our rants. You've seen what Trump did tonight. I'm not going to second guess the president at this point because of his enemies. I wish he would declare the emergency, but I think he's introducing it to us. But I'm not going to try to control what you say. Part of me's pissed off. Stuart Rhodes, what do you really think?
I'm disappointed. I think that he missed an opportunity to get it done. And what's he waiting for? I think Ann Coulter is correct, frankly. I think his presidency is turning into a joke. I think he should have declared an emergency and deployed the troops on his inauguration day. That's been 2 years later. He should have done it during the Republican dominance of the House when it would have been more difficult to impeach him. So I think it's bigger than Trump, and I think he either secures the border or he's done. I don't think it's right to give him a pass to say, well, you know, he tried, and if he fails because the Democrats, stop him, then we're still going to vote for him in 2020. I think that's the wrong answer.
No, you're right. I mean, overall, Trump's way better than Hillary, 50 times better. But we're in a different time, and this is not normal politics. We need action now.
Yeah, we need the border secured, and frankly, the only way to secure it is with the U.S. military. I don't want the Democrats to let him win and only give him, 200 miles worth of borders with DHS.
Yeah, $5.7 billion is nothing. I mean, we spent that on like 10 crappy fighters. We need $100 billion on the damn border. That's a symbol of our sovereignty.
Right. Well, you need at least $40 billion to build the wall, and then you need boots on the ground to secure it. And the only way you're going to do that
But
is
that's
if
why
you-
I said that's like 4 years of funding, $100 billion.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's going to be a fail too.
By the way, we spend $100 billion in Afghanistan every year
with walls and troops.
So I don't want to hear. So that's what I mean. That's a good thing he tried to pull us out of Afghanistan and Syria. But then how scary is it that 2 weeks later they say we countermanded? How did the Pentagon brass bootlickers and leftist media countermand the president? Which I do show that he's just surrounded. So it makes me mad at Trump, Stuart Rhodes, oathkeepers.org.com, but it also makes me think about how he's surrounded. So what do you say to that?
Tough. He needs to put his big boy pants on and get it done. It's not about him. Even if he's impeached, which you should expect, even if they try to say he's mentally incompetent, if he steps up and deploys the troops on the border, he will have the maximum support from those of us that matter as far as
exactly. And that's why they keep demonizing. Oh, don't do the emergency. Don't put the troops. It's like, don't throw me in the briar patch. Exactly.
Well, the GOP weenies convinced him to wait until the midterm elections because they didn't want to, lose the election. They lost the House anyway because they're weenies. And so what's he waiting for? They're running the clock out on him, as I said many times before. He needs to get it done. And the only way it's going to get done is through the military. And tonight, he stopped short. Unfortunately, I don't think he's laying the groundwork for a future military deployment because he didn't discuss the fact that the cartels are terrorists. They used violence and threat of violence for political goals to take over sheriff departments and to monopolize county governments and city governments and take over the cops. That's terrorism under the current federal laws. So why not call it that? Why not declare them terrorist organizations, international terrorist organizations? He also didn't talk about them being, the Western Hemisphere version of ISIS. The parallels are stunning. He talked a little bit about the abuse of women and children and rape and the sex trade, but not enough. He should draw direct parallels between the cartels and ISIS, and then he should go ahead and go one step further and say, and the Democrats are the allies, domestic allies of these international terrorists who are the Western Hemisphere version of ISIS, and they're aiding and abetting them. And you should declare them an insurrection in California and also in the sanctuary cities like Austin, where you're at, right?
Well, Governor Abbott is trying to fight the sanctuary city laws in California. Gavin Newsom just said, come on in, whatever, rape our kids, murder us. That's what the Democrats want in California. But I mean, I think logically here, Stuart, and I say, okay, we've got troops in 8, 9 different countries, 6,000 miles away, building walls, boots on the ground, some of them getting killed. Why don't we do something about the destabilized country to the south of our border where they just had 200 politicians murdered in the year 2018? Why don't we send the troops to the border? Duh, that's common sense. And maybe try to stabilize our neighbor,
Well, what
Mexico.
we're being told is the idea of our country even existing and having a border or a president or any power to defend ourselves is bad. And listen, I know Trump's under attack. I've been persecuted for supporting Trump. So that creates a blind spot where I support him because I know they're after him. But I've talked to a lot of high-level people, not just the president, but recently I've talked to a lot of household names because they call me to see, what I think. And because of all the demonization attacks, we're kind of seen like the rebel stronghold here, which we are. That's not a power trip, folks. People need to realize, we don't put on airs, we don't wear bling, we don't act like we're badass and stuff, but we're definitely front and center. And the thing I'm told is Trump's totally surrounded. He keeps firing everybody. No one follows his orders. They say they're going to do something, they don't do it. He signs executive orders, and then they're never filed. He blows up at people constantly, and he's not going to give up, but he's like, he can't believe the country is this full of traitors. So we can get mad at him, which Stuart is, and others are, and I get it, and I agree with it. I'm pissed. But at the same time, I can't. We have a studio door that opens up the studio to the road. And we have a sign saying, don't open this door. People still walk in when we're live on TV. It says, don't. I've got like 100 employees, and I love my crew. They still walk in on a damn door that says, don't enter here. I can't legally weld the damn thing shut. So I can't get people that work here to stop walking in off the street. I've got employees. I've learned what it's like to try to get people, and we've got a great career. I'm not putting them down, but to have stuff written, this is what we do, and they don't do it. So imagine Trump with hundreds of thousands of employees and a bunch of spies all around him. And so I get then I'm going to zig where I zag. But I was talking to a national talk show host, one of the top guys in the country, and he said, listen, when I chastise Trump, he calls. And when I get on his ass, he listens. So Trump is not somebody actually looking for affirmation. When he respects you, he wants to hear what you have to say. So I think what Stuart Rhodes is saying for listeners, don't just call and say you're great when you call the White House or when you write a letter or you call talk radio. Say, hey, I get Trump's good. I like him, but he needs to get tough and we do this because he listens to criticism. And that's when he calls. It's been times I've called Trump out. The phone rings the next day. I don't know how the hell he keeps track of all this. So that's a complex thing I put out. But Stuart Rhodes, founder of Oath Keepers, I mean, do you get what I'm saying here? Like, we're not mad at him, but we've got to stay on his ass.
Well, I'd like to actually have Stuart address it like this, because you said something that was key, Stuart. You said the people that matter. If Trump tries to cater to Republicans or people in D.C., they don't matter. They're not going to have his back at the end of the day. It's the people, it's the citizens that fight for him day in and day out.
Well, he already gets
keepers.
that. Yeah.
So what did you mean when you said that, Stuart Rhodes? It's the people that matter that he needs to try to please.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, the people who are going to support him, if he does the right thing, and who won't, his goose is cooked politically.
So what you talk to all the military, everybody, what does America want from Trump?
The military on the border. That's what they want, because they know whether it's ranchers on the border.
Instead of every other damn place in the world. Just do one presidential thing.
Yeah, I got retired Border Patrol agents who told me the exact same thing. He needs at least twice as many agents, which he's not going to get from Congress. And the only other thing he can possibly do is use the military. And that's what it's going to take. And that's
Let me ask this then to both of you. The controlled globalist media says it's insane, there's no crisis, even though they flooded Europe with Muslims. They're flooding us. They're collapsing our judges, our courts. The UN model is collapsing with third world populations. We've got 4 or 5 times the record hitting the border. Trump's trying, and ISIS trying to deal with it. We're being flooded before a collapse of Latin America. So this is the national emergency. And so, the fact that he's saying that is true. So, Stuart, he needs to take action.
Yeah, he needs to deploy the military on the border, just like Wilson did after Pancho Villa raided across the border. As we talked last time I was in your studio.
And Black Jack Pershing.
Right. This is even worse because they don't go back. They stay here. They stay here and murder cops. They just had a cop killed in California. He mentioned that. That's what he should hang his hat on and say, this is enough. An Air Force veteran beaten to death and raped and murdered, a cop killed, I'm done. I'm going to deploy the military and secure the border. He would have the maximum support he's ever going to get from the people in this country who still love this country. Period.
Yeah, this is an act of war. These people are invading our country and murdering our citizens. That's absolutely right. And this should have all Americans infuriated that we allow this to happen day in and day out. Americans die, and the Democrat Party, and you could say Republicans too. Hell, even throw Trump's name in there. They're protecting them. Every day we don't have a wall, another citizen is probably going to get murdered by an illegal immigrant.
30 more minutes. Some stations are about to break right now. Back in 3 minutes. For stations breaking, stay with us. On the internet or wherever else people are covering us, but some TV and radio stations break just now. That's really what's happening. Mexico has a border. They have a wall. They have a fence in areas all across with Guatemala. That's been breached. So the founder of Oath Keeper, Stuart Rhodes, and by the way, plug your website. We'll put it on screen. Great organization. This is a admitted UN plan to collapse Europe and collapse here. It's not like Trump's even this great guy. I mean, even though I like the president, I can only get negative and attacked for supporting him. It's not like, oh, I'll kiss his ass all day. The country's very existence is the border and its sovereignty, and it's under existential attack. If he signs the executive order, if he declares the emergency, there is no bridge too far. The left's already saying, don't air his televised events, arrest his supporters. We're under globalist attack. Really, what should we do? Not just arrest Chi-Com leaders. What should we do if you were President Stuart Rhodes?
I would declare the California government to be an insurrection because of their sanctuary state law, which just led to the death of a cop. I would declare all the cities that have done the same thing to be an insurrection. And I would deploy the National Guard and call it the militia, which is us veterans.
And by the way, keep going. It is an insurrection when 900 cities say, we're going to tell MS-13 when the feds are coming, and we're going to let everybody commit crimes and child smuggle. I mean, we're not like being radical here. This is what you do. These UN-run cities under the Strong Cities Initiative that say illegal aliens and migrants are above the law. This is literally a global insurrection, Stuart Rhodes.
Right. It's also directly countervailing, well-established.
By the way, I should add you're a constitutional lawyer. I'm going to shut up. Spend 5 minutes on this. Explain to people.
Yeah, well, they're committing felonies. They're committing federal felonies, which there's a felony law against harboring and aiding and abetting illegal aliens, and they're blatantly violating that for the last 2 years, and they've gotten away with it. So they've learned from Trump's his lack of action that he's full of hot air. I think Ann Coulter is correct, unless Trump, reaches down and grabs his own pair and finds his manhood and does it. He's going to be a joke at the end. The clock's going to run out on him, and all this discussion of fourth level chess or whatever is going to be a joke looking back on it. And the odds of ever having another nationalist elected to the presidency will be done. First of all, because people will not believe it. They'll be like, okay, we got taken for a ride by Trump. In the end, he didn't produce, he didn't deliver, he didn't stick by his word, didn't secure the border, and so why should we trust this guy, whoever it is? If you can even have a fair election by then. By then they'll probably have stacked the deck so bad against the GOP that you're not going to see another Republican elected to presidency ever again. As Coulter said, she's correct. So
yeah, I thought in the last few years she was just getting political points when she was saying all this, but now it's clear the country's under attack. They're trying to collapse Europe. They're trying to collapse us. If you play games and deny this, and if you don't respond to it the right way, you're aiding and abetting it. This is really this bad, this insane, this crazy. And Trump is up there in the swamp, and he's trying to fire advisors. He's trying to do the right thing, but they're coming for him. America wants leadership.
Well, it's the old cliche, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And Americans have become so spoiled and fat and happy that they really don't understand what they have here in America. And look, countries come, countries go, empires die.
Owen, in the last couple of weeks, every restaurant I go to, I've got video. There's women full, not burqas. Everywhere I go to the bank, it's there. Everywhere they haven't brought in none. They brought in 50 million. I mean, it's like we're under total invasion.
So we're going to sit here and we're going to try to protect America from being destroyed because we understand why it's important. We understand the freedoms that we have.
I was on Spotify this morning lifting weights, and the head Spotify was a woman in a burqa dancing.
Well, that's women.
They cut their genitals off.
That's female empowerment. Well, yeah, I mean, don't you know Ilhan Omar and Linda Sarsour? That's the FGM party.
By the way, I shot it on my camera. I'll show you. So, Stuart, I agree with you, and I've been a Trump supporter, but just because he's not Hillary doesn't mean he does listen to criticism. What should Americans do to respond to this?
They need to get a hold of President Trump through the White House, through his Twitter feed, by calling the White House, emailing it, and demanding that he deploy the troops, that he go all the way and do what's right. Because you said earlier, no matter what he does, they're going to demonize him and try to impeach and remove him from office. So it really has nothing to lose. Do the right thing, do it for the right reasons, and get it done. Go all the way. Don't go half-assed. Go all the way. Deploy the military, the entire U.S. military that's there domestically, onto the border and secure the entire thing, all 2,000 miles, and build the wall all 2,000 miles. And don't just
it's totally obvious that's all they want. Can you guys, we're going to go back to Stuart Rhodes here in a moment. Can you guys document cam shot? This is me in my garage working out this morning. Discover new music, and it's the woman in the hijab dancing. Under Islamic law, she would be killed.
They're not even allowed to dance under
Islamic law. She can't drive a car. She has her genitals cut off. And all these dumbasses go, a woman ain't got genitals. Oh, you're an idiot. You must be in your mommy's basement. Here it is. This is Spotify ad all over, and it's a woman in the deal. I mean, I'm not just telling you this. I shot video of this. So
there's literally a thing in Iran right now with women dancing in the streets, rebelling against
and taking their hijabs off. And burqas, and Linda Sarsour says they're bad. And feminists are like, kill those women, cut their clitorises off. And I'm not just saying that. This is literally, the feminists are Islamic police to chop women's genitals off.
It's sick.
So, I'm ranting. I keep singing up the floor and I cut in. Stuart Rhodes, what are we facing? What should the president do?
It's time to fish or cut bait. It's nut cutting time. He needs to just man up and deploy the military and get it done. And if the left then crushes him politically, whether it's through, the courts or whether it's through impeachment, then the gloves will come off and we'll just fight and get it done. But it's better to do it that way than to die a slow death with 1,000 cuts.
And by the way, Antifa is the professors to the leftist police in Germany and Sweden and Denmark and Finland and the Netherlands. They're killing people. It's barely in the news. We see it. They're killing and beating people's brains out every day.
Yeah, they just.
They mean business.
It was like a German prime minister or something that just got his.
Well, it was the deputy leader of the new conservative party that just got his head beat in. They shot a bunch of people. They killed a bunch of people. And that's the thing. I don't want to go stomp on dog turds in my yard. I don't want to go have some more with Antifa. But at the same time, Stuart Rhodes, at some point when we're being attacked, we're not offensive. We're all about defense. But if you're being attacked, it becomes the best defense is an offense. At a certain point, we're going to have to launch into action. And I don't say that light of heart. I mean, at a certain point, if they do start assassinating people or beating everybody's brains out like they're doing in Europe, I don't think it's Antifa needs to be targeted. It needs to be the command and control of these people.
Well, what President Trump should be doing is, like I said earlier, declare them an insurrection right now and go after them. It's what the political party, the Democratic political party leadership in both, the state level and the national level are aiding and abetting the cartels, or aiding and abetting terrorists in the invasion of the United States. And they need to be called out on that and declare what it is. It's an insurrection, and it's a direct violation of federal law. So he needs to execute the laws of the Union, suppress the insurrection, repel the invasion. It's all tied together. And
I agree, but as a constitutional lawyer who wrote, what was it, Yale or Harvard, where you wrote the winning paper against the police state, you're not calling for the police state. They brought this in. So speak to your paper and so speak to your paper, and then let me ask you this. You're a smart guy, and I mean that for viewers. Who do the Democrats even work for? It just seems like they're just anything evil or bad. They don't even have an ideology except crapping on America. Yeah, they're Chi-Com funded. They're MS-13 involved. They're just a bunch of jerks. So, A, get into your award-winning paper at Yale, and then get into the ethos. What is the operating system of the globalists and their minions?
Well, the problem is the Republican Party is just bad. I mean, you've got, at the top, there's no difference. As I said before, you get to the elite levels, they're all the same. They're all global.
Yeah, they're a bunch of yes men that are there because they're wimps.
Right. Or they're rich Republicans who want the cheap labor, which is the bottom line when it comes to the motivation of most of the businessmen that are in the GOP. But the president has the authority and the duty to call forth the militia, that's us, to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and to repel invasions. And he needs to do that. And he can also use U.S. military for the purpose of repelling an invasion. But domestically, to execute the laws of the Union, he should call for militia. He does not have the authority to declare martial law. There's no such thing in the Constitution. But he has ample constitutional authority to execute the laws of the Union, including our immigration laws and including the federal felony against...
Which as a constitutional lawyer, is clear cut on the border.
Yeah, totally. He has a full constitutional authority. And Congress did also when they passed that law, making it a federal felony to aid and abet illegal aliens. That's a fully constitutional law. And so he has the authority to execute the laws of the Union and his responsibilities.
So he should start with arresting the mayor of...
the governor of California.
Yeah, the governor. You've got Gavin Newsom. You've got the governor in California. You've got
New York
in San Francisco. You've got the mayor there in just north of San Francisco. I mean, they're all involved in insurrection.
And Tucson and Austin. I mean, all of these sanctuary cities as well. They're the town councils and any level of government where they've declared.
Sure, these are outside globalist forces using the UN model to collapse America. We'll get back to that, but I'm asking you the question: and I'm asking Owen this too, but you first. What is the ideology of the globalists? What is the ideology of the Democrats? What do they want?
Marxism. That's what they are. They're Marxists. It's a totalitarian, like you said before. This is World War IV, and it's the same old ideology of totalitarian collectivism. It has a different face, whether it's fascism or whether it's Marxism. And the Democrats, it's the Marxist flavor. On the Republican side, it's a fascist flavor. George W. Bush was a fascist. So, but either way, you're going to wind up with totalitarian collectivism. Doesn't make a difference what you call it.
So what do you think Trump should do right now?
Deploy the military. He should declare the cartels to be terrorist organizations, declare them to be military invaders of the United States, just like the Taliban were, fourth generation warfare, non-state actors.
Which they are. They're killing thousands a year.
Right. So declare that to be a military opponent and to be a terrorist organization. And then, like I said, then you can start nailing these Democrats for aiding and abetting terrorism and also call them modern slavers, which they are. And same thing.
So expand on that. I mean, Pelosi says MS-13's got children. I know for a fact immigration lawyers in Austin, Democrats, white, black, Hispanic, are managing the coyotes. And if people don't pay, they end up dead. I mean, this is a true criminal enterprise that threatens the very state of the country.
Right. And under federal law right now, terrorism is defined as using force or the threat of force for political goals. And what do you call it when they offer you silver or lead if you're a police chief or a sheriff or a deputy, or if you're a county attorney, et cetera? It's a political weapon. It's force being used to attain a political end, which is to take over these city and county level governments on the border, which they're doing all over the United States. In Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, they're taking over the border areas just as they did in Mexico. The cartels run Mexico, especially northern Mexico. So
well, that's why you see the numbers coming out of Mexico, Stuart. 200 politicians murdered in the year 2018. It was just a week ago. A new mayor, I think it was, in a city in Mexico, got murdered the first day. It may have been like right after his inauguration speech. Yeah, there's 132 politicians. That story was from July 2nd. So it's just incredible. You have this country where all these drugs are coming in from, guns, terrorists, all of it. And then MSNBC, they catch 6 terrorists at the border. They catch 6. That was just in a half-year report. And NBC says, oh, it was only 6. What's the big deal? 6 terrorists. What do you mean? 1 terrorist could kill 20 Americans. These people don't care. They genuinely do not care. And Alex asked the question earlier, who do the Democrats work for? I think at this point, they're basically, these people are just whores, political whores that work for anybody. They probably got deals with the Chinese. They're in Google's pocket, Facebook's pocket. Who knows? Maybe they're in the drug dealers' pockets. I mean, maybe they're slanging some of the coke that MS-13 brings up here. I mean, Bill Clinton was good at that. So, and good old George H.W. So I think that at the end of the day, maybe we're just looking at Democrats that just care about their own bottom line. And they see Trump and America awoke as a threat to their bottom line. So they need the border open to bring in more voters, Stuart.
Well, sure, that's part of it. The Democratic Party, I think as D'Souza has pointed out, the Democratic Party has always done this, cater to immigrants and use them as an electoral bloc. And now they're doing that with illegal immigrants as well. And so he's correct about that. But the other side of it, though,
and you get to the other side, but any group they control, they then install in blue cities and keep as generational slaves.
Yes, absolutely. They did that with Italians, Irish, blacks, then that all throughout history. Now, of course, they're really doing it with racial minorities in particular. So they're making it about identity politics, as you guys have been talking about all day. But the other side of it is quite a few of them really are dedicated Marxists. Not all of them, but quite a few in the leadership really are. So there's different levels. The ones at the very top, like Hillary Clinton, she doesn't care about ideology. She's all about power, this raw, naked power as a globalist.
But they use Marxists as their operating system. We'll explain that. But I want to be clear. I fundamentally, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, most people are mixed. I'm part Native American. Stuart, going back, you're one part of your family from Mexico. I understand that if other people are enslaved and they're not doing well, overall, that feeds up to my family. So I have this, it's not a wimpy, like bleeding heart thing. I get if I build you up, that builds me up. I'm already up here. I raise you, I go up too. A rising tide raises all ships, as Kennedy said. The globalists admit they want poverty and control. And then Trump does real juvenile justice reform to start it going. No credit. He really tries to pull us out of these wars. So, Stuart, I don't want to just end this bashing Trump, which, I wish he would have done this. He signaled he would. I think it's behind-the-scenes threats to get them to do the right thing. But he needs the executive power to reverse their executive power. I mean, they know this. I think he's getting that advice. So I would say tonight is a pause. Overall, it's a failure because we haven't passed victory. But what about the positive things, both of you guys in closing and all the great viewers on TV and radio? him saying, we're going to get out of Syria, we're going to get out of Afghanistan, an 18-year war, $100 billion a year. So China pays nothing. It's $144 billion a year out in rare earth minerals. I mean, we're the security force for the world. There's been some positive things. So I'm not telling you what to say. Say the positive things, Stuart. You're a smart constitutional lawyer. Say the negative things about Trump.
Well, no, the things that he's like tonight, he talked about some of the issues that, about checklist that I made up, including the children and women and the drugs and the death of that police officer in California. But he stopped short. He should have declared them an international terrorist organization and a military opponent of the United States, and he declares an invasion. And he should have gone further and said this is also an insurrection. So, the good things are that he talked about some things that are important. He didn't go far enough, and that's the downside. Is my concern is all he's doing, as you said earlier, is setting it up so that he can say, well, I tried, and it's the Democrats' fault. The little meanies in the Congress wouldn't give me what I wanted. It's all their fault. But still vote for me in 2020. And the answer has to be no. Either you get it done or you don't. Like Coulter said, you were elected to secure the border. Period. No excuse.
No, I agree. This isn't politics. This is real politics. This is action.
Right. He has to step up and get it done. Because if he doesn't, this country, as far as a conventional capacity to self-govern, is done. And the only
Let me ask you this as a constitutional lawyer and as a veteran, a patriot, and a guy that leads one of the biggest veterans organizations in the country. It's a good, wholesome group. How the Trump has good instincts on so many levels, but then at the same time, America wants action. America wants to come back. America wants to secure the realm. And we sit here, and it's so damn obvious that the Democrats are this globalist force, and they're out to get everybody and saying America was never great, it'll never be great, and the Ninth Circuit bans the American flag. I mean, not just Trump, the American people who are on the fence. I mean, it's almost like if we don't make the right decision here, we're idiots. So we can make it all about Trump all day, but how did we get this demoralized? How did we become this pathetic? I mean, we can make it about Trump all day, and I'm not even trying to defend him. In fact, I'm saying right now, how does he not know that his victory and all of our victory is action? Well, I know what the answer is. They threatened his wife. They threatened his son, his daughter. I've already experienced it, and I'm not whining about it because I asked for this fight. But, getting shot at, which I've had something close to that happen. At the end of the day, it's easier when they go after your mom, your dad, your family, when they show up at 6 a.m. at your house, and they don't get to me, they get to my family. And I think that's probably it, that there's no chivalry, Stuart Rhodes. I think at the end of the day, we have to, and I'm not being a mean person, but I really gut level think this. I'm not saying commit crimes. I'm not saying get aggressive like they shot Scalise. I'm just saying they already started the fight. And I don't know how to do this because I'm not an offensive guy. If I went on the offense, it would be like Godzilla attacking Tokyo. But they're attacking us. And so I guess we show up politically at every event. We get Democrats' faces. We sue people. We donate. We make phone calls. But at a certain point, the shape of things to come, I know if 1% of America stood up tomorrow, the Democrats, the New World Order will be like a big-ass crap flushed down the toilet. But we're so judicious that we don't do it. And I'm not even up here saying I'm the general, like some guy commanding it. It's just that when I'm getting my ass handed to me because no one stands up, at a certain point, I just say, what is the shape of beginning to ask? We don't mail it in. We don't talk about who did it. At a certain point, these guys are asking for a fight, Stuart.
Well, we need to exhaust all of our remedies, and right now the focal point has to be on one man, which is President Trump. He is the commander in chief. He has the power and authority to do what's necessary, and so we should focus our, like a laser, on pushing him.
No, I agree. On Trump and Congress, I agree, and going to events, because all these people say, "I'll shoot UN soldiers." No. If you won't go to Congress, if you won't go to public events, if you won't look up when your senator or congresswoman is coming to your area to go talk to them, if you won't call into C-SPAN, if you won't go hang up flyers, if you won't spread links, then I don't want to hear the cop out of violence. I agree.
Well, and Alex, I want to actually this is something that directly happened today. The Texas legislature was signed in. The new Texas legislature was sworn in today. I went down to the state building. I was there for 3 hours doing live streams, and I was the only, I guess you could say, right-wing activist there.
Oh, no one's there.
There were
it's
three
armies of leftist turnblock.
three or four leftist groups out there, which, by the way, I handled all of them. I walked into one group of about 50 of them, and I shut them all down to the point where they started chanting at me because that's the only response they have. People just need to get active.
No, you said it. Like when we go to Congress, it becomes international news, thousands of articles saying Google's evil, stop Dragonfly, stop censoring, and Google's now saying, okay, we're going to stop just from that. And let me say this to Stuart right now. Not that I'm powerful or you're powerful, but the political action is powerful. Well, this is so epic. Stuart, closing comments on that.
On what exactly?
Well, just on taking political action, because I was about to make a point, and then I started looking at all of it. It's such an incredible historic moment. Everybody should be involved.
Well, we need to push the president. We should be outside the White House protesting against his lack of action, frankly. Put it on him.
No, that's it. That's it. Will you join me, Stuart? Will you join me next week? Let's say next Wednesday, outside the White House, calling the president to declare an emergency. Will you join me outside the White House? Let's just next Wednesday, high noon. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
We're doing it. We're going.
Okay. No, I think this is the answer. I think the Achilles heel, if you will, of the Trump conservative movement is that we're too busy to organize. We're too invested in our own pursuits to organize. And we just don't organize. It just never happens. You don't team up with all the big name conservatives and go do an event like all the leftists do anytime there's a women's march or some other crazy.
Yeah, we're not getting money from George Soros of $500 to show up. When our listeners take off work and get there, they're doing it because they care.
Well, and I didn't even know this. I'm glad you guys are reading my mind. There's an InfoWars Army event this Saturday. I didn't even start it. Just InfoWarriors in Austin said, we're going to go to a bridge. We're going to hold signs. So I'll be there.
We're going to launch a Reddit very, very soon. But I just said it. Stuart, you're going to be there next Wednesday at noon in D.C., and I'm going to be there, too, at the White House. Deal?
Deal. Let's do it. That's the only way to get this done. You got to put pressure on him. Have to.
And, this is the kind of thing where the leftist, D.C. police may try to stop us. Well, at a certain point, a man reaches a time where you're either going to bend over or stand up for who you are.
And I think people need to take the cut of this video of Alex saying, we're going to the White House at noon and put it on YouTube. We're not allowed to do it, so you got to spread that message because we all got to be there.
Well, that's my next point is we're having our birthright stolen right now. And we're going to go to D.C. next week. It's done. We're doing it. And this wasn't some focus group behind the scenes. It wasn't Soros funding it. We're here. And we're not there against Trump, but we're there to let Trump know we want action, and we want action now. And that'll give the enemy time to be ready for us, but that's okay. But I got a sneaking suspicion Antifa is going to show up. And we don't need all these panty wasted, all these different groups to go, well, Alex Jones has been demonized. It isn't Alex Jones's rally. It's America showing up peacefully at the White House to say, defend our border, go after the deep state, secure. What would you call this march? Stuart Rhodes of Oath Keepers.
Good question. I think I'd call it, the people showing boots on the ground support for the president putting boots on the ground on the border. Military veterans in particular.
Sure. So American surge.
Sure. Yeah. Get out there to the White House and put pressure on him. Put positive pressure.
By the way, I showed myself or Roger, and we're literally the top story in the country. And I'm there in the Congress, and no one's there. With Swallowswell and Hank Johnson and all these people, no one's there. Stuart, you were in D.C. for a while. It's pathetic how easy it is to take this over peacefully.
Well, the message needs to be to the president, to cut through all of his handlers that look, we expect you to do this. And if you do, we will support you 100%. You'll have no greater support than if you do the right thing. This is your moment in history to get it done. And
why do you think he backed off tonight?
I think he's been, he's been told over and over again that he can only go so far, don't go too far, or bad things will happen. Well, the bad thing that's going to happen, it's beyond him, is our country will be destroyed if we don't secure our border.
No, I agree. And he's being maneuvered. Talk about working for Ron Paul, one of the chief guys on the Hill. I mean, Trump's being maneuvered into a firing squad. Anybody can see that.
Well, he's being shaped and corralled, and the whole point is to contain him and minimize him, as was done with Reagan, to minimize the maverick that might cause trouble until he's gone. And then when he's gone, they get back to business as usual. That's the whole goal.
That's right. The leftist CIA and the Ford Foundation, the documents have leaked, call it the emergency. Trump is the emergency. And but here's the good news, Stuart. All over the world, people are nationalists. They're against the globalists. I don't think they're going to contain this emergency.
Well, but the only question is how is it going to happen? I prefer it happen through the President of the United States, who we elected to secure the border, using his power and doing it with the U.S. military, rather than us having to do it ourselves in a very hard fight.
Because if we do that, the Chi-Coms and others are going to use that vacuum. That's why this is so dangerous.
Yeah, we don't want a civil war in this country. It would be horrendous.
And that's why even people on the fence at the CIA and Defense Intelligence and National Intelligence, you guys all write in your white papers, this revolution's coming. Just let America come back and be free market. What works? Don't do this. It's too dangerous. But we're going to do it regardless. So don't let it get to the point of a damn civil war with the Chinese and the Russians and the EU. I mean, Stuart, you're a veteran, you're a constitutional lawyer, you've worked in Congress, you know, this is a no-brainer. Even if you were corrupt, you'd want America to be powerful to project dominance. The globalists always say, oh, Trump's selling out America, when they're the ones selling the whole damn thing out.
Right. So I think the message to him has to be two things. One, this is what you have to do to actually fulfill your promise. And two, if you don't, you're leaving it on us to have no choice but to take matters in our own hands. And that needs to be part of I think that should be on the table too, to him and everybody else.
But I want to be clear, because we talk about this, and I don't like doing this, but targeting. They're going to blow up federal buildings and say we did it. They're going to run false flags. We know that's part of their operations. They're breathing down my neck right now trying to set that up. So if things do kick off, we should be on record saying don't target black churches or don't target, this or that. I mean, this is literally the area we're entering.
Well, sure. We need to be principled in what we say, of course. But we also need to make it clear that we're not going to just roll over and let them take over our country illegitimately by swamping us with the third world. And it's not about race, it's about politics. And it's about the integrity of our borders and our sovereignty. And if they don't, if Trump does not take advantage of this window, this blessing we've had of his presidency, the potential blessing, he doesn't actually materialize it. As Coulter said, politically we're done. That doesn't mean we're done completely, because we'll have to take matters in our own hands and we'll be in a civil war, which we don't want. But you know what? That's better than slavery.
Well, we got the secret documents 13 months ago, which are confirmed Soros documents where they wanted to cause a race war in America, but they failed under Obama 2015. So they want to trigger a civil war while they're burning down buildings and taking over, and while whites and blacks are killing each other like idiots. No. I don't want one black person to die, not one white person, not one anybody. I think we're smart enough to see through this if we understand what's happening, but that's how evil these folks are. All right, Stuart Rhodes, give us your websites, how folks get involved with the great work you're doing. If you come on, you never plug what you're doing. Tell folks how they follow your work.
Yeah, they go to oathkeepers.org, and we have a current operation right now of having volunteer pilots in the air. We could use your support in keeping them flying. And we also have boots on the ground in the border states. But here's the problem, though. We can volunteer all you want, but if you don't have the military on the border and you don't build that wall, that border will not be secured. And so, it's going to take the president getting off his rear end and getting it done. So I'll see you there Wednesday. Look forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to D.C. Wednesday. You ready, Owen?
Well, Alex, this is the key. It needs to be Alex Jones. It needs to be Ann Coulter. It needs to be Mike Savage. It needs to be Jack Posobiec. It needs to be Mike Cernovich. It needs to be anyone and everyone.
Jack Posobiec will probably be there, but all the other folks are like herding cats.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. When the left wants to do it, they get all their Hollywood con men and women.
Well, I'm not saying, I mean, I'm not in competition with Ann Coulter, but I show up on the battlefield.
But that's what I'm saying.
She just shows up to say whatever. And I'm not bitching at her. I wish she'd show up for the real fight, you know?
But that's how we can combat this. That's how we can force action in D.C. But it's just not what conservatives do. And it traditionally, historically, has never been in America. It's just never happened. So that's fine. InfoWars will go it alone, like we usually have to do.
But that's the way it always is, Owen. You can't feel sorry. I mean, seriously.
I don't feel sorry. You think I feel sorry for myself?
No. I'm not criticizing you. It's just that that's the way it is.
Trust me, I enjoyed going to the state legislature and facing 100 leftists on my own.
Owen, you do a better job than I do. I'm not criticizing you. I just don't want to demoralize the viewers to what we got to do here. And the weird thing is, the more they oppress us, it's like, yeah, we know you're evil. And it's like they do all these things. It's like, yeah, we know you're bad. Like,
well, and it's like
we already figured it out,
And it's like, you're ignorant too. There was this one thing they're talking about. Oh, we want criminal justice reform, and I was like, what about the criminal justice reform from Trump? And they're like, oh no. They're like, oh, that's not a thing. It's the exact thing. What do you mean it's not the thing? It's the exact thing. So it's just crazy, Alex. Ignorance is a huge hurdle that we have to leap in this country.
What they do is they get a bunch of betas and followers, and they tell them they're leaders, and then it's just a nightmare. Yeah, I just put my foot in it too. I'm going to send you to DC. I'm not going.
I knew that was going to happen.
No, I'm not afraid to get on an airplane.
No,
I'm not afraid to fly up there. It's just like, no, I've actually thought about this. When I was up there last time, I thought we should bullhorn the White House. And we should just, I actually think Stuart Rhodes is right. I think you're right. I think we have to light a fire under Trump's ass.
And it's just, hey, we'll just go there. You do a live video. You get a bunch of people to come up. You talk to them. What are they thinking? What do they want to say to Trump? You're there for 3-4 hours. You get a big national story out of it. You cause a big scene right there in front of the White House. Trump will obviously know it happened. Maybe you spark a fire, and some of these other leading conservative voices, maybe they take some action. So it's
I'm not trying to put them down, but other than like Tucker Carlson, they're literally all arguing who has a bigger jet airplane. I've been around them. They literally say, well, I've got a Gulfstream. Well, I've got a Learjet. I've got a...
Well, look,
it's like, dude, I want to suck their eyeballs out.
You've never been in that elitism class, but we're kind of in the activist class, Alex, and there's people in that class with us that have never wanted to work with us. They demonize us. They try to bar us from their events.
We get demonized. Everyone thinks, oh, don't touch that show, as if we're trying to be popular. We're the guys trying to change the paradigm. We're not trying to be popular.
Well, and so my point is, it's like, look, we're not in competition. Exactly. We're not trying to win a high school popularity contest here. We just want to change this country. We want to save this country. We thought that that's what everybody's interest was.
Did you hear about such and such? They're worth $2 billion and have 3 jets.
Oh.
I mean, it's literally ding-dong measuring contest. And here's the good news. The average conservative talk show host cares about America, loves free market, wants to work with everybody. They're not bad people. But we're not 1990 trying to have a mansion and a trophy wife and a damn jet, man.
And just beginning to enter the realm of conservative and independent media.
Of the New World Order. Well, that's the big news. InfoWars created the map for the future. All over the world, globalism's in trouble. All over the world, as we predicted. And it wasn't hard to predict. If you've got a corrupt world government run with a bunch of billionaires that don't pay taxes, saying that middle class should make $100,000 a year, we should expose that. People will join us in wanting prosperity. I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist, Owen, but I think people would want that, right?
Well, that's the issue. That's the issue of ignorance. That's the role that the Mockingbird fake news press plays. It's to divide, to distract, and to keep people dumbed down. Again, I go to the state legislature swearing today. I talked to a couple dozen people. I'm asking them about border security. Half these people don't even think there's an issue at the border. Like, not an issue. Terrorists being arrested, guns being smuggled across the border.
But if it's beyond that, the worst of the worst, a collapsing system of 800 million people with the UN orchestrating them to invade to be illegal voters.
And then what do they do to just destroy all arguments and put you in the dirt?
Nazi.
What they do intellectually, racist. Which, of course, is absurd.
When their leader is a Nazi collaborator.
Literally. Not only that, I mean, go look at Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. I mean, you know, they're Nazis too.
And you say that, it's almost like we're virtue signaling, like, oh, we're not the racists. Look, your founders are Nazis. That's
fact.
Look at Bird Box. Black pilled, taken down. Look at Facebook, Mark Dice taken down. It's not that we're against black people, because I'm literally, if I even war game imagining I'm against one group, I think I'm going to hell. Like little black kids. I don't want to abort them, not because they're black, because they're children. But then I see the left weaponizing black people to where they literally, on average, think whites are out to get them. And you look at Bird Box, every white guy's a mass murderer, every black guy's good. That's not to empower black people. That is to subconsciously program whites to hate blacks and blacks to hate whites. As if in a real world it'd be some are good that are black, some are bad that are black, some are good that are white, some are bad that are white. Every message is so satanic. About the opposite of what Martin Luther King said. And I just say this, like I'm just saying it. It's true. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that one day our children will meet, and it's not about what color they are, but about the character of their action and their deeds. Well, I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it again. I don't go to see a concert because of what color they are. If I like the music, I go to it. I don't go to a restaurant because white people or black people or Hispanics own it. I go because the food's good. And the fact that I have to state that, and then now the left says, no, it's about what group you're in, is so antithetical to what America is.
And you can see that manifested in Hollywood and just in general, where everything the left does in America has some sort of identity-based motivation behind it. I mean, this may be a bad example, but you look at like the movie Black Panther, right? It gets all these awards, it gets all these ratings, everything. The movie sucked. And nobody will even say it sucked because now you're racist.
Oh, it had like a 98%, when at best it was a 70%.
50 maybe. I mean, horrible movie. But it's the Black Panther. It's a full black cast. You have to like it. And so what happens? All these people go and see it because of the skin color. And maybe people liked it. That's fine. That's maybe for them. But the point is, it was popular because it was all black cast. And then they say, oh, America's racist.
We're not trying to get ahead by putting down Black Panther. The point is, it's force-fed. It's not a win for black people or anybody else. It's an establishment line where we put you in prison, we're shipping drugs in your neighborhood, but here's a movie where you're these mythical creatures. The blacks had the real Atlantis. All right, that's it for this live transmission at 9:38 Central, 10:38 Eastern. Earlier, my prediction's wrong. Trump had been talking about a national emergency. He was threatening Congress with it. We're already under an emergency, but we told you the emergency was coming, so we're right about that prediction, but we're wrong about it being declared tonight. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Central, the David Knight Show, and then my broadcast at 3 p.m. Owen Schroyer and others, Infowars.com. Tomorrow's news today. Thank you so much, crew. The point is, America and the world's fighting back against the globalists, and that is the good news, so thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, the new year is here. And I personally in the new year am looking at all the great supplements and products at InfoWarsLife.com and saying, what do I need to take religiously that I'm forgetting to take, that lowers inflammation, that empowers all the cells in the body, that makes me healthier, better stamina, libido, energy? And it's these three babies. It's Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula with 95% curcuminoid. Nobody else can top that. Top of the line in the nation. It's X3 that has all three of the good types of iodine together, including the deep earth crystal iodine. Because some people can't absorb that type, we put a little bit of the other two types and a tiny bit of vitamin C to stabilize it. And then Super Male and Super Female Vitality. Super Male Vitality's been our overall most successful product, neck and neck with Brain Force Plus. But because it's wildcrafted and a proprietary process, we weren't able to get it for long periods of time. And so I made the decision just to discontinue it and try to reformulate. But it's been very, very hard to do. So we're not discontinuing it because it's crap. We're discontinuing it because we can't get it. It may come back in the future, but right now we're just not able to bring you this. It's our last run of it. Proprietary, amazing. It's at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site. Or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Body's Turmeric Formula, and it's supercharged with other key ingredients that supercharge it, bring it to the next level. And then, of course, it's the X3. It's our final run of X2. We've secured the deep earth iodine, but I thought to make a better one with all three types and the vitamin C. So get your X2, get your X3, all at InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. And again, have a great New Year as we fight the globalist and restore the republic and freedom to the planet. Thank you all. Defeat the globalist. Hashtag Alex Jones. Defeat the pedophiles. Hashtag Alex Jones. Defeat Alexandra Cortez and her mindless idiocy with hashtag Alex Jones. Defeat the censors with hashtag Alex Jones. They've tried to ban us off every platform out there, but we've just gotten stronger because you've taken action with hashtag Alex Jones. I am patient zero in the massive banning, but you can override the censors now. And if all of our audience gets involved with hashtag Alex Jones, we are unstoppable together. We've already changed the world together with our laser focus. Do it again with hashtag Alex Jones on Twitter, on Facebook, on Google, on YouTube, everywhere. Call and Talk Radio, C-SPAN, shout it out loud in public, hashtag Alex Jones. That's the rallying cry to restore the First Amendment.
Creativity and the dynamic human spirit that refuses to submit.
CBD-rich hemp oil is totally organic, all natural, something God gave us, and it doesn't have THC in it, and it's totally legal in all 50 states. This is where everybody's going. This is what your body actually needs. There are so many different spectrums of this natural oil that comes from hemp, now legal and lawful in all 50 states, that you need to just go research it for yourself. Now, obviously, there's been a giant marijuana legalization craze that Soros has funded the last 10 years. I've not been involved in that. It's a huge bubble. This is not marijuana. There are hundreds of varieties of hemp. This is industrial hemp that has all the good attributes, but not the bad attributes that turn people into potheads in their basements, picking and eating their boogers. This is the good CBD from the organic hemp oil. And there are so many great products that you simply need to go to InfoWarsStore.com and link over to WashingtonsReserve.com, or simply go to WashingtonsReserve.com yourself to look at all the products, to read about the history, and to see the facts for yourself. So 360 win. There are different CBD rich hemp oil extractions for many, many, many different uses. You owe it to yourself to go look at this for yourself and to also understand it helps fund the InfoWar. People wonder why I haven't gotten into CBD oil. Well, because some of the stuff's got problems, some of it can get you high, and some of it can get you arrested. This is not that. Legal in all 50 states. It's from hemp, not marijuana. It's totally legal. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we can ship to all 50 states right now from the great website, WashingtonsReserve.com.